Hello there guys and welcome back to my channel for another live reaction and player ratings live stream following Chelsea 1, Manchester United 1. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I can't even put it into words quite how disappointed I am. I am gutted. Like why do we always throw it away in the big games that matter? Like Spurs, I know Spurs, at least the ref was kind of at fault. Today was just us, man. Like, why do we let them cross? Why do we let them win a header, man? They weren't winning headers all game long. All of a sudden, 94th minute, yeah, that's what it's fine. What are we doing, man? Like, every time it's just... And then I'm not even talking about how shit we actually were in performance. Well, not for the whole entire game. But even when we were so bad at the beginning, that what we did in the second half, we thought was decent. Even though if we just played like that all game, we all would have said it was still shit. Because... yeah, okay, we controlled the game a bit better second half. But how many chances did we have? 2? Flipping brilliant. Do you know what I mean? I'm so disappointed by the performance, by the result. Why can we not beat these lot? Why? I mean, yeah, today they very much deserved that point. It's not like an unfair result. Absolutely not. But how many times have we drawn against them when it was unfair, when we should have won? So I was so like almost extra happy because I'm like, for once, we get an undeserved win. Not in general, because I literally, well, our last win was undeserved against Villa. But I meant in terms of against Manchester United. We haven't won against Manchester United since 2017. 10 games now in the Premier League, we haven't beaten them. That's ridiculous. I know 7 of those have been draws, only 3 defeats, but still, 10 games we haven't beaten them lot. Nah, man, I'm so disappointed. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we're joined by a new guest on the channel, which I'm very excited about. Kyle from Chelsea Plus, that's his YouTube channel. It's linked down in the description. Kyle, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you getting in touch to come on streams, and here we are.
No, thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on. I thought we were actually going to win it. We're so close. Man, I think people are going to blame Kepa, but honestly, I think Kepa had an overall good game, but I really do think Potter did mess up with his tactics there. I feel like we could have done a lot better to start the game off better, but overall, disappointed, to be honest.
It's so disappointing, isn't it? I mean, we'll get to obviously Potter's, I guess, tactical howler a little bit, and then there was obviously the first half substitution. We'll get into that a little bit later, but touch on like the last few minutes. Obviously, we win that penalty. We're all gassed, we're all hyped. Jorginho actually does step up, scores it. We're all hyped. 94th minute. Pulisic can't close his man down. I know the Pulisic stands in the chat will hate me now, but he didn't close his man down who crossed the ball. Whether you like it or not, he didn't. And then I don't even know who was with Casemiro, if I'm being honest. But why? Because there was another United player right behind Casemiro. So basically, not only one United player would have won the header, 2 in the 94th minute. We can't stop opponents winning headers. Like, what are we doing? How many more times is that going to happen? Like, Kyle, I mean, I don't know all of your Chelsea opinions, obviously, but
yeah.
At the moment, it quite doesn't feel like, I don't know, we don't feel like Chelsea at the moment to me. Like, you know, the Chelsea that we all like love so much. We are still.
I don't know. I feel like we've been like this for a while.
It's true.
Now
it's true. We have been like this for a while. We always
games.
throw it away, man.
Yeah, like we never win games that we don't deserve to win. If you know what I mean, we always, you know, deservedly getting there. I feel like this game, I don't know what happened. Honestly, I don't even know what happened. Overall, I feel like we have to talk about the overall game because I know we did lose it in the last few minutes, but overall, I felt like we're so on and off. Like there wasn't really much to talk about overall. I felt like Aubameyang, Sterling, I felt like they could have done a lot better. I really liked Broja when he came on, but overall, it just wasn't it at the end. I think it was Chilwell. Was it him, Chilwell marking him? But it was you're right. There was a guy behind him as well. So we did definitely look a bit messed up there at the end.
Absolutely. It's just the problem. I mean, you touched on Sterling and Aubameyang there. I have my opinions on Sterling. I'm not happy. Let's say that. Yeah. But let me get to you, Aaron. First of all, thank you for being here as always, mate. I assume you're as gutted as myself and Kyla, but how do you explain it? Like, what were your thoughts?
No, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it. It is slightly concerning how we managed to drop points like late on like that. I was expecting a lot better, to be fair, but it's one of those things where it could really go anyway. So it's kind of irritating in a sense because we had it for 90. Well, scored in the 87th. All we had to do was hold on for the last couple minutes, and we couldn't even do that. And up until the 94th minute, I had another correct prediction. So It's a bit of a shame that we couldn't hold on. I think over the course of the game, you can tell that United. I personally, I feel like United played better than we did. It took a 35-minute tactical change where we got it so wrong to begin with that we had to then change it that early on. But I think as we made that change, it got a lot better. But it got a lot better, but it couldn't have really got worse than what it was. I mean, it just looked like they were all over us. So to sort of come back from that, get a bit of rhythm, I think there was plenty of times where we had opportunities where we could have scored. I think Sterling, it's like we've bought Sterling from City and he's left all of his ability there and just come and just brought his body. That's about it, because it doesn't look like he's Raheem Sterling. He looks like a sack of shit. So I'm just so disappointed, honestly. It's really heartbreaking to lose it that late on, especially to United, who've got such a bad record against us as well.
Yeah, I can only agree with every word you've said there. It's just we're at a point where I'm like, the first thing we need to start with, why are we so injury cursed? Like, that's what I want to know. We spent 110 or 115 million pounds on centre backs this summer. Neither of them were available today with injury. Like, how does that even happen? Like, how do you get to this position? Like, obviously we could have played a back four, but if we wanted to play a back three, we literally played all the players we had. Cucurella literally had to play left centre back if we wanted to play a back three. Well, I guess Aspie could have been a right centre back, but then someone would have had to have played out of position at left centre back because Chalobah and Thiago Silva are left centre backs, and neither is obviously Aspie. It's a nightmare, and how dependent we are on Reece James is it's an actual joke. An actual joke how dependent we are on him. Now, I would say how dependent we are on N'Golo Kante, but we're not really, because we haven't seen him in about 2 years. So who knows whether it would have been any better with him or without him. But, oh my God. Kyle, let's get to the starting 11 when we initially, well, not only when we found out what it was, but also when we saw it be on the pitch. And we, although to be fair, in this occasion, there wasn't really much of a debate what formation it would be once the team came out. We kind of all knew what it was going to be. At that time, did you think it was as bad of a decision as it turned out, or as bad of a selection as it turned out to be? Because I wasn't sure, and I was like, really, Kovacic? Obviously, we were all like, where's Koulibaly? Then we found out he has a small knee injury. I still think Sterling shouldn't be playing at the moment. Honestly, I still think Pulisic deserves starts. But hey, I didn't think it would go this badly, though.
I mean, looking at the lineup, I was very disappointed. I thought Kovacic was rested for this reason. And Jorginho and Loftus-Cheek in the midfield, it never really works out anyway. I just feel like Jorginho, even though, yes, he scored the penalty, Jorginho in a double pivot with Loftus-Cheek never works out. I felt like we were just a donut. No one was in the midfield at all. And I felt like that was the main reason why we didn't have much control over the game until we bang on Kovacic. Cucurella as well, he's not having a good game at the moment, or good games against Villa, or not so good as well. So we had a lot going on, which I didn't really want to happen. I understand why Sterling started, though. I mean, he's brought in to start games like this. He left Man City to start games like this, but he's not in good form at the moment. But no. I don't know. Overall, though, I just want to talk about. Did
you actually know the stats? Raheem Sterling has never in his whole career scored a goal against Manchester United, actually.
Really?
Now 25 games. So it's actually a great.
It didn't look close. It didn't look close. I mean, he had chances, but I felt like when other players came on, Pulisic looked a lot better. Broja, I really want Broja to get some games. I mean, Aubameyang, I felt like he wasn't in the game at Broja, even though I felt like he could have got more game time here. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know about you guys, but
I completely agree. I completely agree, and it baffles me how we so often decide against playing him and then decide to leave sub so late. Now, I understand we had to make one sub in the first half already. I say decided to for tactical reasons because the manager had an absolute stinker in the team he initially picked. But then why was Sterling on the pitch for so long? I mean, Aubameyang was the first one that was subbed off. And who did we bring him on for? Another winger. So for a 5 or 10 minute period, we just had no striker. We're fucking brilliant. Now, that's how we're going to score. Like, what is this? No, man, honestly. I mean, Aaron, you texted me when you saw the team. You were like, what is this? But I assume even you didn't think it would go as badly as it did for that first half an hour until Cucurella was replaced by Kovacic?
Bro, when I saw the team, I messaged you and I just looked at it and I was like, this looks so bad. It looked so bad. And then it got into the game and I thought, yeah, I was right. This is really bad. Like, I don't know what was going on. The fact that we had to then make a tactical change after 35 minutes is embarrassing. Like, to be playing as badly as that, to have to make a change in the first half that's not injury related, you have to have really got it wrong. So I was sort of anticipating a shitter performance from the team based off of what I saw on paper, but I don't think anyone could have predicted it to go that badly.
No, we probably couldn't have. So, as you could see, if you paid attention to the screen, initially we started in a 3-4-3 with Cucurella left centre back, Thiago Silva and Chalobah as a back three, Chile and Aspi as wing backs. And then, as Aaron just touched upon, after 36 minutes, we took Cucurella off, brought Mateo Kovacic on, shifted to a 4-3-3, and were better. We were better in controlling Man United on the one hand, also at actually being involved in the game ourselves. But in creating chances, not really. I mean, Aubameyang had one, but I think that was even before the formation change from a Chilwell cross. That unfortunately he tried to control for some reason instead of heading, but sure. And then Sterling had one where he either should have shot or square it to Aubameyang. In the end, he waited too long to square it and didn't shoot, so messed that one up. And then the second half, Sterling had another one. And otherwise, it was just Chalobah hitting the bar from a corner. And that was all the chances we had, plus the bet. That was it. Like, it was no real serious chances in there other than Chalobah's header. Honestly, it's shocking. It's shocking. But we can't keep a clean sheet for 5 minutes. We literally had kept the clean sheet for 10 hours until you scored. But sure, we didn't keep a clean sheet when it mattered in the end, unfortunately. I don't even know if there's anything else that I want to talk about before I get into player ratings. Let's not get too hung up on it now. We'll probably talk through things as we get through the team anyway. I mean, Carl, you touched on Kepa earlier. Now, let's just get it out of the way. A lot of people have been talking about it. Let's get it out of the way. Does Mendy save it? Maybe Mendy saves it because he's a bit taller. Maybe. But
I think an informed Mendy saves that for sure. Like,
yeah.
If we're going back to when he was
because
in the
he's taller.
run,
Yeah. Because exactly. I don't think Kepa actually nearly pulled off an absolute wonder save, but unfortunately was about this far off. Fully keeping it out, and goal line technology unfortunately worked against us. But what did you make of his overall performance? There was a few very good saves. I thought the bottom right-hand save early in the game from Anthony was very good. The 1-on-1 save against Rashford was very good. There was another one which I thought was a pretty good save. The distribution and the one occasion where he came out as a sweeper and then we just passed our way out with Chilwell and Thiago Silva and Kepa was great. Will you deduct him any rating points for that goal he conceded, or what would you give him?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like personally, though, I just got to get it straight out there. I'm not the biggest fan of Kepa for this period, but now that he's come in, he's actually looked quite good, and I still defend him now. Like, all the saves he's done, he looks very good, confident, running out the box. Looked like Edison at one point, just coming out, passing it, very calm, collected. If Mendy was there, I'll probably feel a little bit nervous. So overall, I feel like Kepa had a good game. I can't really deduct him any points, but I do feel like for this season, we've got to keep Kepa. I do feel like in the long run, this is a problem we will need to sort out, because I don't see us winning many titles or leagues with someone like Kepa. You know, with his deficiencies, you know, he can't save corner shots. Always an FA Cup final. I know, who was it? Tillman? I forgot his name.
Tillman, yeah.
Tillman. He scored that amazing goal, but Kepa was the guy who let it in. I feel like even though he has good games, because he has that, you know, he's not tall enough, it's always going to bring us down. But overall, I think he had a good game. I'll probably give him maybe a 7 out of 10, I'd say. Not sure about
I would probably have gone with about a 7. It's a tough one because now, had that last goal not happened, and I'm not even saying had he saved it, I'm saying had the chance not happened and we win the game 1-0, I'd probably even give him an 8. So in a way, I am kind of deducting points of him, but not really because he did anything wrong, but just, well, we didn't keep a clean sheet. We didn't keep the win at the very end. So I'm not giving our goalkeeper an 8. Do you know what I mean? But Aaron, 2-7 so far. Would you go along with that? Would you, are you critical of him for not saving it? Or is it just a case of, well, the guy can't make his arms longer and his body taller? Like, what can he do?
I'm not really critical in terms of him not saving it because he can't really do anything about his height. He's fully outstretched to try and get that ball and he couldn't get it. So it is what it is, really. I think that debate's always going to be there whether Mendy saves it or not because he is considerably taller, so he's got a longer reach. But it's neither here nor there. He wasn't in goal, so it doesn't really matter whether he would have saved it or not because it doesn't change anything. But Even though it averages out to a 7 anyway, because you guys have already gone for that, I probably would have gone for a 6.5 because I was not a fan of his distribution today. I did not think it was good at all. So I think I really wasn't a fan of the distribution. I thought it was quite poor at times. So I would sort of deduct marks for that. But other than that, it was an okay game from standpoint. He had good bits, bad bits, but the goal I can't really blame him for.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because you mentioned the distribution there, and obviously some of them just went out over the sidelines. Fair enough, that happens. There was a lot which went in somewhat the direction of like Sterling or Aubameyang, but not on one occasion did any of them ever win a header. The only one that won a couple of these long ball headers was Mount, which now obviously we can talk about Kepa in those as well. Fair enough, they may sometimes maybe were a tad short or a tad long or a tad left, a tad right, but shouldn't still, like, especially Aubameyang, Sterling's obviously not that, but shouldn't they still be doing better at those? Like, what it felt like to me, like, yeah, of course we got the setup wrong and they dominated our midfield with just outnumbering us and stuff. But I felt all game long, and even in the second half to some extent, other than maybe Aspie and I guess Mount, they were just, I should probably also include Chalobah, maybe Thiago Silva. They were just so much more aggressive than us. They were that step quicker to every second ball. Like, they won every second ball. They won every loose ball, every high ball. They were just, like, the amount of times someone just ran into the back of Aubameyang. Aubameyang fell over. Aubameyang didn't even ask for a free kick. So I assume, okay, probably not foul then. But how can you just, he got pushed around as if he was a 5-year-old playing with adults? It's ridiculous. Like, you brought it up with Kepa, and it's fair. Some of his balls certainly weren't good enough either. But this is, to me, a problem. Like, this started last season when obviously with Mendy, but it doesn't really matter who the goalie is. When you play a long ball and no one can just pick them up, and it didn't matter last season when it was Lukaku or Havertz or now Aubameyang, or even in the which game was it? Broja, whichever game he played against, was it again? Which game did he start, man? Brentford. We had a lot of long balls. He couldn't hold them up either. I'm like, what is this? Why can none of our players hold up long balls? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But hey, I'm not really sure. Shall we do? You know what? I'll switch these around. I know obviously Cucurella is the one that started, but
yeah, just very quickly as well on distribution. I felt like Man United were pushing quite high up, so it had to be a lot of long balls anyway. So I felt like it was on target. He came out quite well. I felt like his distribution was okay actually. It wasn't Mendy level. It was pretty good in my eyes, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe I should watch it. I thought it was good. Like, unless you want him to pass at the back when there's 4 guys on him, I kept seeing it. You had to kick it long, and not many players won it. So I don't really see what more. Unless Graham Potter wanted that, I can't really see what more he could have done. To be honest,
Aaron, do you want to react to that?
I think in terms of that, what I would say is with his distribution, it was kind of like there was plenty of times that I could see. Like, for example, I'll give you one where he picked up the ball and he's looking at Chilwell far on the left side, and he's going to punt the ball to Chilwell, and he just overhits it to the point where Chilwell has to start running backwards, jump up, try and header it, and he can't keep it in. That's the example I can give you, but there's other times within the game where there's stuff like that where it's like he's overhit a pass or it's gone to the left or to the right of where it needs to go. And I'm not saying that it's all his fault, because players should be able to read the game and sort of come towards the ball and try and get it. So I'm not saying that it's just his fault, but there was a lot of times where I did notice that his distribution was poor.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck in between what you guys are saying, because on the one hand, I do see there was a few of the longer balls that didn't come off. Like you touched on that one with Chile. There was one with Aspie that I think you put just directly out. But you know, Thiago Silva also tried one long ball and put it, 10 yards too far? Do you know what I mean? Like, when you're talking 50, 60-yard passes, which obviously these switches are, they can't always be perfect. So that's why while I agree with you that they weren't always perfect, I think it's a bit harsh to mention much of it. But at the end of the day, you said 6.5, we said 7. Not much to be killed between there, is there? Let's quickly do Cucurella, because obviously he started a back 3, came off after 36 minutes, so we still gave him a rating. I'll start with you, Aaron. Now, while we got better after he came off, I don't actually think he was the problem. Like, he certainly wasn't as bad as he was against Villa, I thought. Now, I'm not saying he was good, but I don't think he was, like, really bad. He kept Antony under some sort of control at times. I actually in certain situations, quite liked how Chilwell and him were almost, like, swapping positions, because it's like, okay, the one followed the other guy, then, Chilwell dropped in behind Cucurella. Then Cucurella followed that guy and Chalobah pushed back out to be the left back. I actually quite like that. But obviously, because our midfield was so exposed, we obviously had to do something about it. And then Potter decided, okay, take Cucurella off rather than Chalobah. It was kind of between the two, realistically, wasn't it? But what did you make of Cucurella's first 36 minutes? Like, did you think he was bad? Maybe it was just me that thought he wasn't actually that bad.
Oh, sorry, is this to me?
Yeah.
I think it's really difficult to give Cucurella a rating today because I don't feel like, obviously he got brought off after 36 minutes. He happened to be the casualty, but I don't think he particularly did anything wrong for him to be brought off. So I don't know. I was thinking more like NA. I know he played 35 minutes, but just because of the circumstance, like the whole team was sort of getting outdone. So I don't think it's specifically anything to do with him. So I think it's quite difficult to really give him a rating because I didn't. Like, it's difficult to notice him specifically too much when the whole team is sort of getting barraged.
It is true. We could certainly give him an NA. Could give him, I guess, an average 6 as well if we want to. Kyle, well, what's your thoughts? Do you think we should give him a rating for that 36 minutes, or do you basically agree with Aaron that it's kind of like it's a bit difficult?
Yeah, it's a bit difficult. He came on. I felt like he had a role to do in the squad, but it didn't really work out. But overall, it's not really much to rate on him, to be honest. I felt like most of that time we just spent defending when he was on the pitch. But overall, yeah, NA I would give it, to be honest.
That is fair. Now, we'll get to Chalobah. Let's do Chalobah before we do Thiago Silva. Chalobah, in my opinion, was one of the bright sparks on a dull and just poor performance, really. I thought he was good. Yeah, I'm sure there was moments where they let people go. I think, obviously, very late in the first half, after we had just changed to the 4-3-3, there was one occasion where I think it was Anthony that just ran through, basically, between our two centre-backs, which obviously shouldn't happen. But, I mean, that's the kind of thing that happens when you change from a back 3 to a back 4 mid-game. Those things, that's what happens, right? But I actually think Chalobah was one of our better players. Maybe even our best player. Which I'm not going to throw out and give him a 10 here, or a 9, or even an 8. But I do actually think Chalobah was pretty good. I'm not sure what to rate him, though, if I'm honest. Was he anywhere near that cross? No, but I have no idea whether he should have been or not, because obviously it was kind of a set piece. First, did it all initially stem from that Jorginho, where he took the yellow card, took the tactical foul, which was a good decision, but in the end, I think it was quite literally that free kick indirectly that we conceded from. So that was obviously suboptimal. I'm thinking like a 7 for Chalobah. Obviously unlucky not to score with his header. Is 7 about right? I don't know, Kyle. Do you want to help me out? What would you give him?
I thought it was pretty good this game. I'm not saying amazing, but pretty good this game. Very solid. I think
a lot of people in the chat are going a lot higher than I am, so maybe we can.
I wouldn't give him a 7. I know it was better than Kepa in my opinion. 7.5. I'm even tempted to go 8, to be honest, because it was quite good.
Have the A, bro. Take it.
Yeah, I'll give him an 8 personally. He was very good. I don't really remember much from him mistake-wise. Like, no mistakes. It's solid overall. And, for set pieces, it was quite good. Almost got that goal. Him and Thiago Silva. I know I was worried about Fofana getting injured, but him and Thiago Silva is quite good as well. And I don't know what happened to Koulibaly. I would have liked to see him in this game. I think he got injured, didn't he?
Yeah, some sort of knee injury. According to Potter, he felt his knee a little bit towards the end of the Brentford game. And he basically will be back in a couple of days, but this game came a bit too soon for him. So unfortunate, obviously, but you're right. Chalobah has most certainly stepped up. Fair play. Do you want to add anything more to that, bro?
No, you just got to say he still hasn't lost a game yet. Every game he started hadn't lost. So
absolutely. I mean, I wish they were all wins rather than so many draws, but you know, still better than losing, I suppose. Aaron,
exactly.
Carl gave Chalobah an 8. I might even revise mine to an 8. What would you give Chalobah?
I guess that makes it a full house of 8s then, because I think he had a really good game. Like, I was really impressed. And I said I can't remember how long ago which one it was specifically when we did a video. I remember saying I wasn't overly convinced by Chalobah at centre back or as a DM, but he's really starting to shut me up now because he's starting to look really good. Like, I've been really impressed with him, and I think that performance there, even though a lot of the team weren't playing well, he was still able to do his job and do it to a very high standard. So I was really happy with his performance. So I'd give him an 8.
Fair dues. All right, then. You know what, Aaron? I'll actually stick with you as we go to Thiago Silva. How would you, especially in comparison to Chalobah, do you think he was as good? just a little worse? What do you make of Thiago Silva in comparison? Yeah.
I think Chalobah was our best defender by a fair distance, if I'm being completely honest. At least that's what I noticed sort of through watching the game. But in terms of Silva, I don't know really. I don't think I noticed him like that much, if I'm being honest. I think with Silva, he's just going to do the come in and sweep up where he needs to and just keep that sort of calm, composed head. So I think I'd probably go with a 7 for Thiago Silva. I didn't notice him too much overly, but he just Thiago Silva. You know what you get with him is written on the tin. He sort of just comes in and gives you a solid performance every game.
Yeah, I think defensively that's not really too much to complain. Again, maybe I'd have to see the actual goal back to see which other players. I think Kyle, you mentioned Chilwell earlier. I'm not sure if there was anyone else that was near it, or maybe that we see should have been near it or whatever. But otherwise, we weren't exactly bad defensively, were we? Obviously, the one occasion that I touched on, Anthony going through, and then obviously Rashford's big chance. That was really the only big chances that United had from inside the box, shall we say. So can't really be too critical of Thiago Silva. The only thing I'll say is, well, he is the leader at the back. So in terms of how we just got no control of the game and how we really struggled to keep any sort of possession in the first half, I guess that to some extent you have to criticize him a little bit for that too, because certainly better passes could have been picked at times. But I feel we were purely getting outnumbered in midfield. I don't even think it's necessarily a Jorginho was awful or Loftus-Cheek was awful. They certainly weren't good. But I don't even think this is like an individually, they were just bad performance. I think this was just, we were just outdone tactically. And until Potter changed it, we were absolutely in the mud. And then once we changed it, Jorginho and Ruben also looked okay. I mean, Ruben maybe less so, but Jorginho looked certainly a lot better than he did when we had only two on the pitch, two midfielders. But Kyle, I'll probably go along with the 7, but pure more because I don't really know what else to give him, if I'm honest. A bit like Aaron said, I didn't.
Yeah,
I noticed
7
him,
for sure. 7
but
for
yeah,
sure.
go on.
Yeah, 7 for certain drops. Yeah, 7 for sure. I don't really think it was any of our defenders' fault why we lost the game other than the set piece. Tactically, our defense was good. And I know there wasn't really much to mark out with Thiago Silva, just did his job. So yeah, 7 for sure for me as well. Fair dues.
All right, let's do the fullbacks then. And I kind of want to start with Aspie. Don't know why. I tweeted something during the game and it was during a period of the game, can't remember when exactly, but it just kept, like there was a lot of occasions where Kepa played long balls to Aspie and didn't necessarily always, Kepa didn't get them wrong, but Aspie so often either tried to head them, or even when he tried to control them, he just lost it straight away. And I'm like, remember when we had Reece James? The goalie just plays the ball to Reece. For an absolute fact, he's going to chest it down and either pass a good pass that keeps us possession, or just shield the ball and everyone's going to bounce off and we still have possession. With Aspie, every time he got the ball in that situation, he lost it. Well, okay, every time is a bit harsh. But too many times, man. And it's like we struggle to keep the ball so much. And even Aspie completely on his own. I'm like, why are you heading the ball 5 yards, 10 yards into no man's land? Sorry, man. You're receiving a 50-yard pass. Why are you trying to head it? Just control it, man. There was no one anywhere near you. What are you doing? I don't know. It wasn't great. I mean, he had that one good run in the first half. We then passed it to Mount, who had a great cross, but then Varane intercepted it before Aubameyang. But that was probably about the only good moment I can remember Aspie having. Is that just me? Am I being harsh, Kyle? Do you remember him having many good moments at all?
You're not being harsh. I feel like Aspilicueta had a lot of opportunity to do something in this game. I feel like it's night and day with Aspilicueta and Reece James. Like, they're completely different players. Even when Aspie was in his prime, like, he wasn't good going forward anyway. He was mainly a guy who was, defensive. But now that he's a bit more high up on the pitch, like, I know he has that one signature cross in him, but overall, he wasn't too good in this game at all. And there was even one point when there was something going on with Mason Mount. There's some kind of beef going on the right-hand side. He was arguing. Aspilicueta, he's the captain, and he wasn't even on that side to diffuse the argument as well.
With United players, not with...
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just felt like he wasn't there to, diffuse the situation with Mason Mount overall on that side. I don't really think he's doing that too well over this season. So him as a right wing back, I know that's the only position I'm comfortable in playing, because as a centre back, I don't want to see that at all. As a wing back, I do think that's probably his best position. But this game, with the spaces he had, I felt he could have done a lot more. So I'm going to give him maybe a 5.5. And that's a bit harsh.
I think, bro, even with the 5.5, you're being nice. I'd probably even go lower, if I'm honest, bro. But you can go 5.5 if you want. Absolutely no problem. Fair dues. Aaron, what about you? 5.5? Do you think Carl's being a bit nice? What do you reckon?
I think he's being a little bit nice, to be honest, because the way that I saw it was when the ball came to Azpilicueta tended to have so much space in front of him where he could at least like sort of start running into it, look to drive inside a little bit, find a pass, and it just looked a bit static. I didn't know really what he was trying to do with the ball a lot of the time, so it was quite disappointing because I'm thinking at this point like Reece James is going to be out for another month and a half, 2 months, so we're going to be seeing a lot more of him, and he really needs to up his game if he's going to at least try and have some sort of impact in the squad, because at the end of the day, it can get to a point where even if we play a 3-back, he might not even feature because Ruben will just play on the wing back and he'll play different centre-half. So this is probably one of his chances to try and say, look, I can actually still put in a shift and give you what you need, even with other people being injured. But I just think there was plenty of times where he didn't have that sort of attacking head on. And I know you can't really expect it because it's Azpilicueta, but at the same time, it's kind of like you're playing as a wing back. You kind of need to, even when he's playing right back, you still see right backs still push up and try and get a ball in the box or drive inside a little bit. It was so many opportunities for him to get balls in the box and he just didn't do it, and it was really frustrating. So I'd probably even go for a 5, if I'm being completely honest. It might be a bit harsh, but it's some of it comes down to being used to Reece James there and seeing like the fall off, but same way, it's just kind of like you just expect so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would have gone 4.5, because to me, and for the second half, maybe this is a bit harsh, but purely because, okay, we saw in the first half, we were getting completely outdone in midfield. And obviously the midfielders are what the midfielders are. They are being outmanned. So who do you need to help them in that situation? You need the wing backs. And both wing backs, in my opinion, let us down so badly today. Obviously, then we changed to a back 4 anyway. Then it was a little bit different. Then I just didn't think he was any good or any bad, if I'm honest. Like, I didn't notice that many bad things. I know he knows himself that he's not particularly quick, so he will be a little bit hesitant of getting too high up the pitch. I understand that, but it still doesn't make it any better, does it? So maybe I'll go 5 as well, regardless. We sit on a 5 overall. Let's get to Chilwell on the other side. I would argue he was even worse, if I'm honest. Especially early. We were having wing backs, right? It's not a left back. It was a wing back. And there was one occasion we were almost trying to hit on a counter in a way. At least we won the ball, and try to attack on transition. And Mount was literally waiting for Chile to run forward so Mount could pass it to him. And Chile just stopped, basically at the halfway line. I'm like, excuse me, you're playing wing back. Like, even in a back 4, I need at least one of my fullbacks to be attacking. Like, who are we? Fucking Burnley? Can we have our fullbacks be attacking, please? Like, what is this? Like, absolutely unacceptable behavior. And I'm not sure if that is instruction. Is it him? I don't know, because he's not 100% fit yet. Is it, okay, I don't want to overcommit forward, so I'm out of position when I have to track back or whatever. I don't know what the reason is, but I don't like it. I don't like it whatsoever. Now, he did play one good cross chip, whatever it was, to Aubameyang, and Aubameyang just did nothing with it, unfortunately. But I will say, if Aubameyang tries the header, I don't think it goes in because there was very little power on that cross from Chilwell. So it would have been very difficult for Aubameyang to do more with in terms of a header. But still, I need to see more than, attempting to control the ball and your foot is like a yard away from the ball, just missed the ball. I'm like, sorry. But we'll get to Aubameyang later. But yeah, Chilwell, I don't know. Maybe I'd say the same. I'd say 4.5 as well. I don't know. I could go 4. I don't really know. Like, I was just unhappy with all of them. I was just like, you need to help us. You need to be an outlet. You have to have ball retention. And not every time we give the wing backs the ball, pass it back to the centre back. Every time we gave Aspie or Chilwell the ball, pass it back to the centre back. Like, what's the point? Like, what was the point? United were pressing the living shit out of us. We beat the initial press, so we released it past the centre backs. And what do the wing backs do? They pass it back to the centre backs, giving Man United a new chance to press us from build up. What? I don't understand. Aaron, I'll go with you first on this one. Did you think he was equally as bad as Aspie, maybe even worse, or did you think it was better?
It's difficult. If we're talking about standard wise and what we expect, he was by far worse. But if we're just talking about like objectively just the game, I would say they were pretty much both along the same lines of just they were both shit. So it at that point it don't really matter who was better than the shit. It's when you're looking at the fullbacks right now, it's like picking between shit and piss. Like they're both nasty. So it's not really like there's anything to look forward to. But I don't think he had a particularly good game at all. I think there was a lot of times where you see him pick up the ball and his first instinct is going backwards. Like, that's so not what we're used to with Ben Chilwell. And I lead back to the injuries, obviously coming back from a long injury. But then there's only so long we can keep going back to that for before we're then like, okay, like now what the hell's going on? So it's very difficult with him because I do kind of have that in the back of my mind, but at the same time I kind of have to look at the game, and it is quite disappointing to see the kind of performances that are coming from both left backs, not just Chilwell, but both left backs recently. So I think for this game, I'd probably go along the same lines of the Aspi. I gave Aspi a 5, so I'd probably go with that as well for Chilwell.
Okay, fair dues. Now I will watch it back in the meantime while I let Carl talk about it, because you mentioned Chilwell for that earlier, so I need to take a look if I agree with that basically. Because if he's obviously basically at fault for the goal we conceded, then we need to be very harsh. Do you know what I mean? But Carl, go with your view on and thoughts on Chilwell first.
Yeah, I completely agree with Aaron, to be honest. Like, definitely go with that. If Aspi's a 5, Chilwell's a 5, then for sure. I felt like I personally loved Chilwell. Like, when we first got him, I was like one of the people that actually wanted him. And now that he's in this form, even though I do think he is, still going through the injury problems, he's just not doing it for me in this position. I felt like he didn't really make any runs, wasn't adventurous. And I felt like in a 3 at the back system, our wing backs are the positions that makes us, win the game. If we're going to win the game, it's going to be from our wing backs. And Chilwell wasn't it for today. I've kind of forgot the goal. I do know it's just Chilwell on that side. Could he have done a little bit better? I've only watched it once. I don't want to watch it again.
Yeah. I'm watching it back now, and it's very...
Yeah.
It's difficult. I can't it's difficult to really explain, because Chile kind of goes a bit too quick, and then the ball kind of curls a bit too far behind him, so he has to jump back, doesn't get there. But also Kovacic was with the 2 United players initially, and then they run into the box and he has nothing to do with it, and just stops where he was, and then that leaves Chile alone with the guy. But so I guess it's kind of Chile and Kova, if I'm honest. But he most certainly could be, Kusi saying here, stop blaming the players, blame the tactics. We're blaming tactics for a cross in the 94th minute, are we? You need to do a football ground course, mate, if you think we're blaming tactics for a 94th minute header. But sure. There you go. I mean, fair enough. If on your guys have said you're going to go 5 for both.
Definitely.
I probably think they were both a bit worse than that. But hey, we're here to have a democracy. So I'll let you give it. Because he's involved in the goal, I'll give him a... Unfortunately, I have to ruin it for both of you guys. I'll give him a 4. And I give those a 4.5 a goal. Just like, you need to not, like, if you watch it get back, all I put into Twitter search was Casemiro goal, and then you'll see a few. I don't know. I'm like, he tried too hard to almost anticipate where the ball goes, misreads it, and then he's out of position, doesn't get back in time, can't win the header. So I'm like, you tried too hard a little bit, which I feel a bit bad for him, because I know someone in the chat is saying how they really hate Chilwell. I like Chilwell, especially because people seem to completely ignore the fact that my guy's recovering from an ACL injury. But hey, here we are. Give him a 4.5 in total. What's happening here? Oh, Aaron, what's happening with your connection? I'm so confused.
Is it back?
You're back.
Oh, I'm having a howler with this connection, man. StreamYard's been shit recently.
Honestly, flipping StreamYard, do better, man. This is not a free service. I have to pay for this.
Last stream as well was horrendous.
Absolutely awful. Come on, man. All right, then. My bad. I gave Chile that 4, so it ruined it for you guys to give them both the same, but here we are. Let's talk about Jorginho. Now, the first 36 minutes, my man was having a stick. Him and Ruben, they were equally just zeros, frankly. I thought Jorginho's second half was pretty good. Take away the penalty. I mean, he took it well, but even taking away the penalty, I thought his second half is probably about 6, because, I mean, second half, we didn't lose midfield anymore, did we? So you can't exactly say we got midfield dominated. And I think in the second half, the problem was more further up the pitch. But that still in total, this gives you no more than a 3. Because I've given you a 0 for the first half and I've given you a 6 for the second half. So you end up with a 3. That's all I'm giving you. Now, maybe I could do like 3.5 or 4, because obviously it was only 36 minutes of the first half that it was really bad. Not the whole first half. But maybe I'm also being a bit nice when I give him a 6 for the second half. So I'll stick with my 3. Aaron. Now, I assume everyone's going to agree that he was at least a little bit better in the second half than he was in the first half. But how did you see it?
Yeah, in the first half, him and Ruben were having an absolute nightmare. Like, that Man United were just They were running all over them. There was no stability at all. And I think as soon as we got that third man in and Kovacic came on, it completely changed that dynamic. But up until then, they were horrific. And I'm not going to say it's all down to Jorginho. I mean, we know he has his negatives in terms of his agility and his speed and all of that sort of stuff. So that sort of stuff that we don't really need to touch on. We've known this for the longest time, but it did kind of show a lot more in the game in terms of when they had like the ball out with Anthony comes inside and he's trying to drive it along. He's just so quick and Jorginho so slow. So at times it's kind of like you don't really know what to expect. Yeah, you kind of know what to expect in that sense because it's only gonna go one way. And like when there's pinging the ball around from left to right, it's like Jorginho doesn't really know what he's doing. It's like he's looking one way, looking the other, and as soon as he starts going one way, he goes the other. So it's a difficult one. I think I'd probably go along the same lines as you, just because I think that first period was so bad that it's so hard to just overlook it based off of how the rest of the game went. So I'd probably go with the same.
Because I think that comment to some extent is a fair point, because clearly things got immediately better as soon as you made the tactical change. So how much of, even because we're obviously rating the players as individuals, and then we'll get to the manager later, how much of them being so bad in the first half was actually their fault? Because to some extent, I guess if you're outmanned and outnumbered constantly, no matter whether you're quick, slow, good, or bad, you're gonna be in trouble, right? We've also, like, people like to ignore things, but we've also had games where we were outnumbered in midfield when Kante played, and then also Kante struggled. Now Kante will deal with something like that, of course, better than Jorginho because of pace, work rate, blah blah. But if you're outmanned, you're outmanned, and Jorginho can't, force another person into midfield to stop him being outmanned, and Ruben. So I do kind of agree with this comment by Chelsea Baba Labo here. Sorry for butchering your name, bro. But what would your response be to that? And maybe should we potentially adapt our rating on the basis of that? Because it is kind of true.
I mean, he does make a good point, actually. When you look at it like that, because of how bad the tactics were at first, it does make him look a lot worse. I do kind of get that. But then it kind of brings the question, are we just excluding that first period then where the tactics were wrong and then judge it based off of the rest of the game? Because it's kind of like you've seen a third of the game go that way, so it's quite hard.
We gave Cucurella an A, so I guess we are.
I mean, no, I think that's a bit different though, because I
agree. I'm joking.
Yeah, but it's the case is then, do we disregard a third of the game for Jorginho just because the tactics weren't right? Like it's very difficult to just forget about that like that. So I do get what he's saying, but I still think it is very hard to just change the rating based on that.
Yeah. You know what? On mine, I will give him a 4, just, because I feel like it wasn't all his fault that he was so bad first half. I'll be a bit nice, but, it does make a fucking difference, does it? In the end, we got 1 point, whether I give Jorginho a 3 or a 4.
Actually, he scored the penalty. I'll give him a 4. He scored the penalty. I forgot about that.
He did score the penalty.
Yeah. No, I'll give him a 4 because that was a very pressure penalty because of the appeals and how long it took in between the whistle being blown and taking it. Is a lot of pressure.
If he doesn't score the penalty, the game ends 0-0 anyway. So in the end, it doesn't make a fucking difference.
I mean, if he didn't score the penalty,
United don't score if we don't score.
If he didn't score the penalty, then he would have got a 0. So it's fine. At least he scored that. We'll give him a 4.
Absolutely. Kyle, on your end. Now, number 1 to that comment, do you see what they're talking about? Like in terms of, okay, it's not actually all the players' fault because obviously tactics were all over the shop? Or do you still think he was just awful regardless of tactics?
Yeah, I just think he was just awful, to be honest. I was happy with the 3 rating. I felt like, even though I feel like every manager's going to have to learn this. Lampard learned it. Tuchel learned it. It's going to be hard to play a player like Jorginho. I feel like he needs a lot of cover, and him playing the double pit with Ruben Loftus-Cheek was a struggle for him. As soon as we brought in Kovacic, though, Jorginho did look a lot better. But personally, I just don't really know what he offers generally. Like, even though he was meant to control the game, I didn't really felt like he done that too well. There's not many standout performances. Other than the penalty, I think he didn't have a good game at all. So I'm giving him a 3 just in general. Like, Kovacic kind of saved it for us. Loftus-Cheek, a little bit of physical presence, just a little bit. He won a few aerial duels, more than Jorginho. But Jorginho, I don't remember much from him, excluding the penalty. So I'm giving him a 3 for sure.
Fair dues. I mean, leaves us at a 4.5 overall. Sorry, 3.5 overall. Let's get to Ruben then. And Kyle, I'll just stick with you. he felt maybe a little bit better now. At the very start of the game, I actually thought, "Whoa, look at this!" You know, when Aubameyang had that really bad cross very early in the game after Ruben first won a header, then steams forward to win another header against whoever the United player was, and that then sets up the attack. I'm like, "Look at Ruben go!" And then I was fuming at Aubameyang's cross. But otherwise, I mean, Ruben had 81% pass accuracy. Let me see what Jorginho's was. 78. For Jorginho to have worse passing accuracy than Ruben says enough, really. Even if Ruben
says it all. Says it all.
Yeah. It does kind of say it all. But dribbles, 0 out of 2. I mean, tackles, apparently 0 out of 0. That's not exactly brilliant, is it? Duels won, 3 out of 7 is, I mean, he's under 50%. I'm not sure if that's really bad or just bad. I don't know. But I love Ruben. Everyone knows I love Ruben, but that really wasn't it. Kyle, what would you rate him? Would you give him slightly higher than Jorginho? Would you give him the same? What do you think?
Definitely higher than Jorginho, but not by much. Not by much. Probably give him a. What did we give Jorginho? 3.5, maybe Loftus-Cheek a 4.5, maybe 1 overall rating. I just feel like, let's be honest, with our midfielders, we don't really have many. We have probably used all our midfielders today. Other than Zakaria, I don't know what's going on with Zakaria. These are all our midfielders we have for the remainder of the season, other than Kante. So they are playing a lot of minutes. And that's including.
Well, hopefully, we'll flip and sign one in January because this is
exactly.
This is becoming ridiculous.
Exactly. I felt like our overall season problems. We're just gonna have problems with these guys. And Loftus-Cheek, I felt like in the second half we was a little bit better. He did win a few more aerial duels. I think he won 2. I'm looking at it now. He won 2 aerial duels, but overall, I'll probably give him a 4.5. Nothing special. Nothing special at all.
Okay, 4.5 on your end, Aaron. What are you going to give Ruben?
I'd probably go higher than Jorginho ever so slightly, but I think the more disappointing thing was initially he managed to get that position in the double pivot of midfield, and even when we changed and put a 3-man midfield, that's where he's meant to shine as a number 8, and he just didn't look particularly great. Like, there was times where I was impressed in terms of like he would, like a lot of the times I noticed he would win like a little knockdown with his head and then sort of bring it forward and try and look for a pass or drive a little bit. But then there was times where he was just so sloppy on the ball and the passing wasn't great either. So it was a very mixed bag, but I do think the negative slightly outweighs the pros from today for him. So unfortunately, I'd probably only go with like a 4.5.
See, as much as I love him, I'd probably even give him a 4 because I think, he was maybe a tad better than Jorginho, but Jorginho's got a pen, which obviously I know Ruben wasn't allowed to take, I understand, but hey, it is what it is. But in the end, if you boys give him a 4.5, we leave him at a 4.5. Let's get to Mateo Kovacic then. Now, I was going to go pretty high with that because I think he was pretty good, especially because he wasn't involved when it was really bad at the beginning. But now that I've watched this go back a few times and I see that he was at least equally as much to blame for this as Chilwell is. Maybe even more because Chile at least still tried to do something about it once he kind of, okay, shit, that's where the ball's going. Kovacic was nowhere to be seen. And by the time he saw where the ball was going, he was 10 yards. I don't care what position you are. Even if you're a ball boy, if you find yourself on the pitch, you're trying for the header. And Kovacic was nowhere near the header. So that's going to, unfortunately, affect this rating. I really wonder what Pice has to say about that. He would probably say Kovacic has nothing to do with it, of course. But yeah, I probably, because I still don't think we were great, were we? So I probably would have given him a 6 otherwise. So now I'll give him a 5. Because, that you can't just let watch the cross sail into the box and you just stand there at the far post when that's where we concede the goal from. Like, that's ridiculous. But Kyle, what did you make of Kovacic's performance in general? And then obviously up to you, obviously, if you want to deduct points for just my explanation, if you haven't had time to see it back for the goal.
Yeah, I just rewatched it again now. You just see him leaving Chilwell in a 2v1 situation. Disappointing, to be honest. I even know you got to go back to that last comment where they said, is it tactical wise or did you go by just the players? When Kovacic came on, we did look a lot better. But Kovacic, I don't know. I feel like he didn't have the best of games as well. And I don't think this season he had a good season as well. I still think that news, did he need surgery? Is that something he needs? I think that's something that came out in the reports that Kovacic may need surgery. I don't really think he's in the best of form right now. Even under Potter, even against AC Milan and that lot. I just feel like he's not in the best of form, not what I'm used to from Kovacic this season. And even though he's been a little bit further back, overall, I'll probably give him the same as you, a 5, just for the goal. Nothing outstanding really, just Our midfield, I think I see a super chat there as well. They can't shoot, can't create passes, back passes there. So yeah, I'll probably give him a 5 as well, for sure.
Fair dues, Aaron. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to look at the goal back. If you haven't, maybe look at it once we talk about the next player, just because, I don't know. I think it would be good if you don't know why we're trying to slag Kovacic off for this. You should probably know, because otherwise you'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But from your standpoint right now, what would you give Kovacic? What did you make of him? Oh, I heard you at the beginning of that sentence, then all of a sudden your mic cut out. Is it StreamYard again? Maybe it's just your phone's fault. Do you have a desktop as well?
Casemiro, and I think it was McTimonay on him, but I didn't actually see Chilwell's involvement. So it's difficult. Am I going off of what you're saying in terms of Kovacic was at fault just as much as Chilwell?
I mean, you can do whatever the flip you want, mate.
I'm trying to find a video of it and see.
Put on Twitter, honestly, put Casemiro goal in and you'll see something. And
right,
then
hold on. I think I've got it up on my screen. Right, let me have a little look. I'm watching it back. Okay, yeah, my internet wants to bug out. Okay, wait, okay. It's very pixelated, but I think I see what you're talking about.
You see, he's there as the ball is crossed.
Is he slightly behind them in the box?
No, he doesn't even run into the box in the end.
Oh, yeah. Now I know what you're on about. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so upon a VAR review of Kovacic's involvement in that goal, I can confirm that he was at fault as well. So it does slander the rating slightly. I think you're a bit harsh though. I would go 6, even with that error. I think when he came on, he completely changed the dynamic of the game and the way that the team was playing. Just that having that one extra player in midfield, the way he was picking up the ball and sort of driving forward, looking to bring the ball up. Don't get me wrong, there was plenty of times where it was like backwards and sideways, but just having Kovacic there, having that element of someone who picks up the ball and is able to actually dribble, bit pressure resistant, try and get the ball forward. I still think he brought a lot of that to the game today, and he completely changed it when he came on. Even though he was at fault for that goal, I would still give him a 6.
Yeah, I do hear what you're saying. Graham Potter said Kovacic changed the game for Chelsea and is playing through a knee injury, which is all well and good. But I'm not sure if it's actually Kovacic to change the game or if it's just the system change the game rather than Kovacic.
Laurenz, let me ask you something though. Do you think if you brought on any other midfielder from the bench, they would have as much of an impact in that position as Kovacic? Do you think Gallagher has the same impact coming on?
Oh, no, of course not, because Gallagher isn't as good at as a centre mid as Kovacic.
So in a sense, it is then Kovacic who also has to take credit for coming on and changing the game, even though it is a change of system as well.
Partly. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still think if you brought Gallagher on and let him do this, it would still have been better than before, but not as good as it was.
Yeah, not to the same extent, though.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You can say if Loftus-Cheek and Jorginho started, I don't think it'll be as much better as well at the beginning as well. And if Loftus-Cheek came on, I'm just trying to say, like, if Kovacic started along with Jorginho, I don't think it would have been as well.
True, and then if you bring Ruben on instead, I do see that. So, I do see that as well. But hey, here we are. Whether it's 5 or 5.5, who cares? 5.5 in total. Let's move on to the front three. I guess we do Mason Mount first. It didn't have much, but still was the only acceptable player in anywhere near the opposition goal, in my opinion. That one cross for Aubameyang was good, and then he had. Was it another good cross that he had? Where I'm like, oh yeah, that was decent. But he wasn't great either, was he? But him I won't be too harsh on as I compare to the other two. I don't know. Shall I give him? Would everyone be okay with his 6? Now I've seen some people in the chat thought he was really awful. Some people thought, well, clearly Matt was not the problem today, which I kind of agree with. I'd probably just give him a 6. Kyle, what about you? Did you think it was bad? Do you think it was good? What do you make of it?
Definitely our best attacking player, but that doesn't say much.
No.
So I don't know. Maybe a 6.5, 6. Looking at what we have already, probably a 6. I'll give him. Definitely the only bright spot we had, but it wasn't by much. Was he taking corners or was it Chilwell for this game?
I think both took some.
Okay. Well, overall, there's not really much to talk about for Mason Mount.
No.
Tactically, I know he was meant to come back, but I'm not sure, was he on the right or left? Because sometimes on the right, sometimes on the left. But overall,
I think he started the game on the right, but then when we switched to the 4-3-3, he played on the left and Sterling was on the right. But
I saw him in the middle a lot as well. So that helped as well. With Kovacic coming on, I think we did change formation where Mount kind of went in the middle a bit more. So that helped as well, but tactically. But overall, it wasn't really much from Mount. I feel like he tried all he could, but it wasn't really much from Mount this game.
Yeah.
So six for sure.
I'd probably, like I say, I'd agree. A few people in the chat seem quite unhappy, but fair enough. A lot of people are always unhappy with Mason Mount, but hey, they love that. And no, indefinite, I will get to it. Just Mount in my head is kind of the last midfielder we're talking about. And as your super chat is about midfielders, I'll get to that after we're done with the midfielder ratings. Don't worry about it. Aaron, do you think we're being nice with a 6? Do you agree with the chat, or do you agree with us?
No, I think you guys are bang on. I think the one helpful thing was when it was sort of like Mount was playing in behind like 2 strikers. When he got a bit tighter to Casemiro, I think that helped quite a bit. I think it was like an average game. There wasn't really too much to stand out, but I don't necessarily think he really done anything wrong either for it to be any lower than an average performance. So I'd probably go along with the 6. But just in the lead up to talk about that man on the right, can you get the poo emoji ready again, please?
Yes, I will. In the meantime,
Thank you very much.
so I actually have time to get the poo emoji ready. Let's talk about the super chat quick, and I want to get your 2 guys' thoughts as well on this. Indefinite, I appreciate the donation as always, mate. He says Jorginho, Kovacic, Loftus-Cheek, they can't shoot, defend, or create chances. I mean, that's a bit harsh now, but sure. Back pass. Kevin De Bruyne is better than all 3 of them together. We need midfielders. Now, Kevin De Bruyne is most certainly better than all 3 of them together. I think that is very clear. I think everyone will probably agree with that. And we do need midfielders. I do agree with that. The problem is, what kind of midfielder do we want, right? Because you can say we need all the midfielders in the world. All right. But then what do you want to do with that? So, okay, we need a 6 and we need a DM. Everyone agrees with that. Okay. But then what formation? Do we still play them in a pivot? Because if we play them in a pivot, say we get Rice, who do you put next to him? Is it Bellingham? Is it Frankie de Jong? Who do you then put next to them? Because if you then buy like a super creative player, they won't be good in the double pivot either, even next to a real DM, because some opponents will still require 2 defensively minded players. So then if you let someone that's good at creating but not good at that side do that, they're still going to struggle. So I agree with you completely. The problem is it's just not that easily fixed. The other problem is also they don't have to shoot. They don't have to create chances. We should have Raheem Sterling, Aubameyang, Mason Mount to some extent. And all the other forward players, they should be shooting and creating. Now, creating, of course, can stem from midfield too. Don't get me wrong. This is absolutely the case. But the midfielders do, not necessarily today, but do on plenty of occasions allow our attackers situations where they could do something with it, but then they ruin it. But then obviously that will never show up for the midfielders in any sort of stats, in anyone's memory. Oh, yeah, look at when he did this. So while I agree with you, I think I think it's super important at Chelsea that we don't get caught up in this situation where we just try to blame problems on certain areas. Like, let's not sit here and say that Aspie and Chilwell were in serious problems today, and that if they were better, or if that was just Reece James and a fully fit Ben Chilwell, that also the midfield would have looked a lot better. That also, if Raheem Sterling could actually do anything quite useful, which at the moment he can't, that would also be useful for all the midfielders. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not just as direct, but I do still agree that we need new midfielders. I'm a little bit hesitant of doing it all in one go, because the problem is sometimes they have bad games, but then they still have good games sometimes. The problem is a lack of consistency. But is that consistency always down to them? Or is the consistency, well, like Pice was talking about it in the preview yesterday. It was like, yeah, we need to start the game well. Well, we literally did the opposite. Half an hour in, we had to make a tactical change to literally save our game. Once you're in that position, then what? You know what I mean? Like, and United, they're not bad. I don't know. On the one hand, I want to like not throw them all under the bus in one go because, well, number one, 2 of them won us the Champions League. And number 2, De Bruyne didn't win the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? Like, but obviously you can't always go back to the 2021 Champions League. I understand. But I think it's a bit easy to, okay, after this one specific game where they were all bad, just say, oh, they're all shit at everything. Kyle, what's your thoughts on it? Do you think they're just all shit at everything? What do you reckon?
I'm not gonna lie, midfield is a big area. Like, we haven't spent money in the midfield for years. I think our last starting midfielder was Jorginho, was it? In the Sarri season, we haven't bought a midfielder for ages, and I really do feel like a number 6 Is a
We
big
signed
problem for
Kovacic
us.
and Jorginho together, didn't we? Obviously, initially Kovacic on loan.
Yeah, Kovacic was on Lampard's season, so yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
no,
you're
but,
right.
we had him on
Lampard
the
was
side, didn't we, on loan, and then we bought
Oh
him.
yes,
On
yeah, you're right. So yeah, we haven't bought one for ages. Is what my point is anyway. And I feel like if we did have a number 6, if you look at all the championship teams or champion winning teams, you look at our last winning teams. We had Matic. As soon as Matic left, it didn't look as well. Players like Kante, Fabregas, for example, even the Kovacic, Jorginho, they all look better under someone like a Matic, in my example anyway, under like someone like Jorginho. Because I feel like Jorginho would work better next to someone with the CDM qualities, in my opinion. There is a big problem. I don't think it'll solve all the problems for sure, but it's definitely a big problem. You need a good spine. Rodri's been amazing. We all know Fabinho, when Liverpool were doing good, Fabinho was doing good. You need a good number 6 to at least progress in this league for sure. That's what I say.
Yeah. It's a tough one because, I mean, remember when I was talking about the Ruben stats earlier? I had like 0 out of 0 tackles and 3 out of 7 ground duels won. When you look at it on Jorginho's end now, his passing wasn't great, but tackles he had 3 out of 5, not 0. Ground duels he won 7 out of 10 compared to 3 out of 7. And then, so that's why I'm like, yeah, you have certain problems with it, but to just say he can't do anything, that's why I'm like, but that's just not true then, is it? But I do also see what you're saying, Carl. Aaron, well, what's your reaction to this in the chat?
All I have to say is KDB might be better than all 3 of them, but he wasn't good enough to win the Champions League. So
he was sat on the bench crying with his broken eyeball.
Yeah, he bitched out of it with the black eye, and he has a runners-up medal, not a winners one. So suck on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, someone says Jorginho definitely wasn't the worst on the pitch. And if I read these stats now that I've just read them, I'm like, maybe I have to.
How bad?
Rating, but it is what it is. I'm not going to get him high enough up to compete with any of the others, considering the next 2 highest are 4.5, and I'm not going to give him a 6 to change that. So
Laurenz,
even if it's maybe a bit harsh, it's just a lack of control. Even if you win certain tackles, a lack of control is still, that's his main job, is help us control games. And that certainly wasn't there today. I mean, I guess it was there more in the second half, hence why my second half rating for him was a 6, but in the first half, it certainly wasn't there. Let's get to Raheem Sterling then. I will have the poo emoji ready. And I will let you go first, Aaron. What do you make of him at the moment? Because at this point, it's becoming a joke.
Absolute dog shit. Absolute dog shit. I'm fed up. So there was a good few streams ago when I said Sterling is on fraud watch, and you guys were like, whoa, hold on a minute. Whoa, you're not laughing now, are you? Because Yep, I'm not gonna say I told you so, but I told you so, because ever since he scored, what was it, those 2 goals in a game, I think it was. He scored 2 against Leicester, and he scored, was it 1 against Southampton, was it?
Yeah, again we lost anyways. Since
then, my word, has he been shit. I'm hoping Todd Bowley still has a receipt and he's got like a warranty on it, so he can send the faulty goods back and get his money back, because he's been so shit, and this guy still starts game after game after game. Yes, Fantasy PGA Tour, he was really that bad. Sorry, I was just reading that in the middle, but if Graham Potter still starts him over Pulisic the next game, I'm gonna lose my damn mind, because this guy is horrid. The poo emoji isn't bad enough. I need like 2 or 3 there just to emphasize the point.
I would love to do like an extra big one, but unfortunately, you can only do one size, can you? But before I take it to you, Kyle, I mean, I'm repeating myself because I've said this very same thing about Sterling for nearly a month at this point. But, people say, oh, what does Jorginho do? What does Ruben do? Now, let me ask you a serious question. What does Raheem Sterling do? Because Raheem Sterling isn't Ruben Loftus-Cheek, a heavily injury-struck player from our academy who's basically only filling in because the guy that's supposed to play midfield is constantly fucking injured. Raheem Sterling was signed to be the star man. He left Man City to be the main man somewhere. My guy, you're not the main man at anything. You should be the main bench warmer. That's what you should be. Because it's diabolical. He can't keep the ball. He can't pass the ball. He can't shoot. He can't run even at this point. Like, man, I saw him get outpaced by, who was it? By Dalot. By fucking Dalot. outpaced Raheem Sterling. I thought he was supposed to be fucking quick. All these videos when he was at Man City, it was like always Carl Walker, and back when Leroy Sané was still there, they were like, oh, who's the quickest? And Sterling was like, nah, back myself. Bro, where's that pace gone? Do we have, like, I don't know, poisonous grass at Cobham or something? Because how do all our players become slow as shit? Pulisic became slow as shit. Sterling is now slow as shit. The only guy that's quick now is Broja. Even Aubameyang didn't look quick. I mean, he skipped that one challenge when, Varane got injured. I do feel a bit bad for him, but it did look hilarious. I fell over forwards. I hope it's a GIF somewhere. But Sterling, man, you need, like, you use this on the left, you use this on the right, you use this up top, you use this at everything. What are you doing, man? Like, he's worse than Timo Werner at the moment. And Timo Werner at least had movement. Sterling is just a waste of time, a waste of space. What is this?
Laurenz, do you remember the worst? Do you remember the worst one when Kovacic picked up the ball and he pinged over a long ball, and all Sterling had to do was just tap it forward with his left foot, and someone was waiting right in the middle to tap it in, and it came to his left foot, and it literally tapped his left foot, bounced up, and the defender hit it away. That was when I lost my mind. I thought, right, you need to get off this pitch right now, because this is ridiculous. Like, I can't keep watching this shit week in, week out, especially when we're playing twice a week. I have to put up with this, then I have to put up with it in Qatar as well. It's so painful. Like, honestly, it's ridiculous. I don't understand. Has he got like Graham Potter's nudes or something on his phone, and he's just threatening to leak him if he doesn't start him every game? Because there is no way this guy can keep starting. Like, there's no way. I get your Raheem Sterling and you have that name and that pedigree, but surely that doesn't warrant you starting every game when you're playing like utter shit.
No, exactly. I mean, I mentioned the stat earlier, how now in 25 games against Man United, he scored 0 goals. Now, if he somehow had, in 24 starts until today, somehow had, I don't know, 15 goals against Man United, I'm like, okay, maybe purely on the basis of stats, just play him anyway. But what is it, Kyle? Aaron needs to go in a second, but we'll finish off Sterling with you as well first. Maybe you think we're being a bit ridiculous. Obviously, myself and Aaron have been on a few streams and have kind of gotten each other almost more annoyed about Sterling on a few occasions. But, I mean, when you think back through performances, now you have Man United. Did he play against Brentford? Was he rested against Brentford, I think? But Pulisic still didn't start for some reason. So, okay. So you have Milan away. You have Villa. You have Wolves, he didn't play. Milan at home. You have Palace before that. Then you had Salzburg before that, in which he scored, but it was purely a fluke goal. And before that was Zagreb. That's 7 games where he was dreadful in a row. Like, surely, I know he didn't actually cost that much money because it was in the last year of his contract, but he was a star, somewhat like attacking signing. And are we getting enough in your eyes?
I mean, personally, I don't think he's been too good throughout Potter's reign. Under Tuchel was okay, but under Potter, not so good. AC Milan, I don't think it was that bad, but against Brentford, he came on as a wing back. And when I saw him defending near the corner flag, I was like, what is this guy doing here? We didn't sign him to do this. I do think, though, there is a common factor with all our attackers that they always end up turning bad anyway. Sometimes it is other factors. I do think there's more going on behind the scenes. Because in Pulisic side, I know he has on and off, but every attack we have, Werner, Kai Havertz, they always end up doing bad anyway. So maybe I'm just making excuses here, but maybe I do feel like there's more to it than just Sterling. Because if you signed him at the beginning of the season, I knew Sterling will be getting a lot of hate near the end of the season because our attack is not as good as others, and I know we won't make as much chances. So Sterling, this game, yeah, I don't really have any excuses for him. He wasn't too good. I can't even defend him. I like Sterling as well. I can't defend him this game at all. He wasn't that good at all, for sure.
Fair dues. So I just leave the poo emoji, but Aaron, because you need to go in a second, do you want to just quickly do Aubameyang and Potter's rating? Now, there has also been a bit of a crazy tweet here of Kevin Palmer. Who does he write for again? I saw it and then I forget to read it properly. For the Sunday World. But anyway, I'll get that up in a second once you've done your rating, Aaron. So do Aubameyang first.
Aubameyang, nothing great at all. A couple of times where nice little touch or a little bit of a drive forward, but other than that, nothing really. Probably a 3, nothing to cry home about, and probably the same for Potter. I think getting it that badly tactically wrong and having to make a change after 35 minutes is bad. I'll give him credit for making the change then and not just sticking it out till half time like most managers would have, because we were looking quite vulnerable, and if we left it for another 10 minutes, we could have potentially conceded. So it's better for him to just lock it up and change it there rather than let it go even more. But then I also think in the second half, as I was messaging you as well, I personally thought the subs came too late as well, because by the time they came on, other than Broja winning the penalty, that was like a purely sort of situational thing, but they don't have as much time to impact the game. And with the way Sterling was playing, the way Aubameyang was playing, you would have liked to have seen fresher legs, give Pulisic some more time, give Broja some more time, get a few fresh legs in there, just freshen it up a little bit to try and give us that extra bit of legs and that extra bit of push to maybe push forward and get a goal, which we did in the end. But just to get it done a little bit earlier, try and make chances a little bit better. I still think it's the same thing that we complained about under Tuchel as well, where the subs would come very late. It just felt like that all over again. So for Potter, I'd probably give him a 3 as well.
Okay, fair dues. And then Graham Potter.
Yeah, 3. Same as Aubameyang.
Sorry, my bad. Fair dues. Aaron, I do appreciate that you were here, but need to go now. Kyle and myself will finish this one off.
Thanks, bud. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. You still confused me that you don't want anywhere like to be linked. But anyways, let me quickly get this off the screen for the time being, Kyle, because I do quickly want to get this tweet up that's making the rounds at the moment. I'm not sure if it's anything to believe in. I'm not 100% sure on Kevin Palmer's usual reliability, but I'm still like, okay. A huge story is brewing at Chelsea. Story will be posted here this evening. Now, obviously, I don't know what it is, but is there a little bit in you, Kyle, that thinks Bowley could go mental and sack Potter? I mean, I didn't think he would sack Tuchel when he did.
He better not. I mean, he brought in for the long term, so he better not be having. I didn't like this news at all. I hope it's not against Potter.
I don't think it will happen, but if he sacks Potter, I'm like, nah, bro, I'm done. Like, I've been supportive of Bowley so far, but if that happens, I'm done. Come on now.
Yeah, Potter needs time for sure. I felt like if you give him a few years to build his squad, we all know that the squad is a little bit dysfunctional in areas. I feel like if you give Potter time, he'll be able to, show us what he's got. And I felt like he sacked Tuchel for a reason. I think I heard on the news that Potter's allowed to finish not in top 4, which I'm surprised by, but I heard that. So hopefully it's not about that. It's not about a player, maybe an injury, but I'm surprised by this. Let's hope.
Yeah,
it's not too
I'm
bad.
surprised by it as well. I don't want to give it too much time of day, but I'm like, at least if nothing comes out of it, then everyone can just give. I mean, the fact that he doesn't allow replies kind of tells you enough about the reliability of his stories. So maybe we shouldn't, believe in it too much. But, I would say have a go at good old Kevin Palmer if it's a stinker. But you can't reply to him, so we can't even do that. But let's see if he comes out with anything later on, and let's get back to these player ratings. Now, Kyle, I'll ask you, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now, in general, because obviously we haven't spoken that well before, what did you make of, in general, us signing Aubameyang? Because I was always like, for Tuchel, I was like, okay, maybe. But then we sacked Tuchel 3 days later. I'm like, well, what the fuck do we need Aubameyang for now? He's old. He doesn't look that quick anymore. And will he really care that much? Like, does he give a shit if he leaves at the end of a season? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know. What do you make of his performance today? And in general, what have you made of Chelsea signing Aubameyang?
Yeah, I heard your thoughts on Aubameyang before. I mean, it did make sense on the Tuchel for sure. Under Potter, not so much, but I do like having one old strong striker and one young striker in Broja. I do wish Broja would get more game time. And if you look at Broja's, game style, it's actually very similar to like a younger Aubameyang anyway. So maybe they can learn off each other. So that's something I'm not too fussed about. If it's not Aubameyang, we would have got Ronaldo. So I'm not sure I would have been happy with Ronaldo as well. So Aubameyang, I felt like it's the same with Sterling, actually. I feel like without Reece James, our attackers are not looking as good anyway. There's not many chances. I feel like these guys are poachers. Sterling and Aubameyang are poachers. With Aspilicueta and Chilwell not doing too well. I feel like with someone like Reece James, they looked good with AC Milan. We saw that Sterling assist to Reece James, getting that goal. Aubameyang and Reece James as well, that cross. to Aubameyang. I just feel like they're missing something, and I don't really feel like it's always the attacker's fault, because we can blame the attack all the time. But if you look at the consistency of what's going on, I personally do think there's other areas in the pitch that is causing our attack to, not do too well. But yeah, this game, he wasn't good. He wasn't good this game.
No, he really wasn't. Did you say a rating? Sorry, if you did, my bad.
Oh, no. 3. Give him a 3.
Fair dues. Before I get to Clutch, thank you for turning up on such short notice after Aaron had to leave. I appreciate it, as always, bro. Let me talk about Aubameyang. Now, initially, my reaction was very like, I touched on it earlier already, that cross chip ball by Chilwell, where he tried to control it with the leg in his air. Leg in the air. And he probably should have headed it, but can I realistically demand him to, if he does head it, do anything with that? Because the ball's coming from behind him. So how much heading power is he going to get on it? Because he couldn't head across across from where the cross came from, right? Because, well, the goal was to his right and the cross came from the left. So what can he do? But it still needs to be better. I also think, even though that Sterling situation, can Aubameyang do more with that? I don't know. I just, you're not strong enough. You're not quick enough. Your touch isn't good enough. But we also don't create enough chances for him. We created one really good chance nearly for him, but Varane intercepted it. I mean, I'd probably give him a 3 as well, but part of it, I'm just like, he still, to me, doesn't feel like he fits the team. Now, I know in some games it has seemed like perfectly fine, but on some, and I'm not even saying for complete games, but in parts of games, I'm just like, it just doesn't look like the other players know what he's going to do, and he doesn't know what the other players are going to do. And now I know, obviously, we only just signed him on deadline day, but it's now October 22nd, man. There has to come a point where he has to at least have some sort of understanding between each other. But hey, we'll give him a 3. Clutch, I get to you, and rather than pestering you about all the individual ratings we've given out so far, I will let you give your individual rating for Graham Potter when we get to that after the subs. But overall thoughts, whether if there's anyone you want to highlight, anything you want to talk about, what do you make of today's performance? Because the result is okay. I mean, I screamed before the game. It's got a draw written all over it. And so it did in the end. But when you go 1-0 up in the 87th minute, a draw is not okay, is it?
No. I mean, if you would have told me before the game was going to end 1-1, I wouldn't have been surprised. I'd been like, okay, fair enough. I mean, that's just what Chelsea United usually goes. That's just how it goes. But if you would have told me we would have scored in the 88th minute and with a pen, and then we still somehow come out of it with a draw, that's just not acceptable. I mean, big teams find a way to score late if they need to and keep that lead. And that's how they win. I mean, you've seen City do it. You see Liverpool do it. Not today, obviously. Screw you, Liverpool. But it's just, that's what it is. I mean, big teams do that. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, we can't seem to keep our heads on straight enough to see out wins. And then obviously, I think, when it comes to that, I don't think we should have to get to those points where we have to hold on for wins. We should be going all out in the first place. Me sitting here and I'm thinking, I get Sterling is one of the best players, potentially the best player we have, along with either Thiago Silva or Reece James, but he hasn't been that for weeks now. And we've not even seen a little bit of it for weeks now. Why does this guy keep starting? I don't care. I don't care how good he is now. He's not good now. That's it. It's just simple as that. And even if anybody looks at the stats and says, oh, he's never scored against United in 25 games, 25 now.
Yeah.
Why is he still starting? That should tell you there's something about this team that this guy can't get over. So don't start him. And it's not like you don't have players on the bench who don't warrant starts. You have Broja if you wanted to use Broja. You could put Mount in behind as a 10. Broja, Aubameyang. You didn't want to do that. You could have put Pulisic in. You didn't want to do that. Pulisic provided the best spark of last time. So it's just, there's things that are Graham Potter. And the reason why I used to criticize Tuchel so much is he doesn't seem to learn from he didn't learn from his mistakes a lot. We kept making the same silly mistakes over and over and over again. And here we are, once again. I'm seeing Potter make the same mistakes over and over again. That's how you lose players. That's how you lose the dressing room. And that's how you get fired. No matter what you say, it's always going to have player power because there's always going to be players who know their worth and they know what they're going to get. And unfortunately for us, we have a lot of big name players. That's why I don't like big squads, is because you have a lot of big name players. And if they're not playing and they think they deserve to play and they don't think they're getting a fair shot, they're going to throw a fit. That's just how it is. I mean, Pulisic did it with a Tuchel. Was it fair of him to do it? Probably, in some regard, sure. But at the end of the day, it's just a lot of silliness that keeps going on with these mistakes, and
it's just a problem that you have when you don't win. When you win, like Man City, they don't have squad problems. They have a big squad. But as often as we don't get the result, then I agree with you. Yeah.
But do they not have problems? Sterling left because he wasn't getting minutes, but yet he was like the third most minute cap player last year. But he still wanted more. That's why he left. It's a problem for every team. Every player has egos to stay. You can't stop it. It's just how it is. Every one of them knows they're a professional footballer. They get it. They know what they're worth, and they're going to go get it. Now, some players like Pulisic, who he may not be as good as he thinks he is, or as people tell him he is, but that's what he's being told. He is better than he's better, and he is the United States' best chance. That is what he's being told by people, right or wrong. That's what he's being told. So of course he's going to have an ego about not playing, and there are some facts behind it that he should be playing sometimes. That's just how it is. And my other problem is, why do we keep putting Mason Mount as this wide forward role? Did we not learn under Lampard that's not something we can do? Put him as an 8. That's what he is. He's basically Lampard with less technical skill, but more hustle. That's it. Why do we keep putting him in the wing? It doesn't work, and it hasn't ever. I get you want to press from the top, but you can't do it anymore. He doesn't do it. It doesn't work. Press from the midfield. Have him press in the midfield. I don't get why we do certain things, and then it's just like we don't learn. I mean, a lot of these players, like Sterling, Aubameyang wasn't that great today, but
obviously Pulisic could play instead. But otherwise, this is explained because we don't have enough wide attackers. That's why he does that. But
I know, but didn't we get rid of one? Wait a minute. Yeah, no, never mind. That's Timo Werner. I don't want to talk about him anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you sure you want to bring that one up?
I don't want to talk about Timo, but yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, what we're quickly going to do before we do this, I mean, the subs basically all get an NA. None of them really got long enough to play for me to really give them much of a rating. But I do quickly want to get through a couple of super chats, which I haven't gotten to yet. Especially Richard's one. It came early. But you asked the question, Richard, which I'm not on today. I'm not really sure about, because you say, can I ask a question? Do we not believe in halftime subs anymore when things aren't working and it's clear to see? But we made a first half sub. And that already fixed a lot of the problems. Now, I agree that the subs later still came too late and they should have come early, absolutely. But if you make a sub in the 36th minute, you can't just then also make a sub at halftime. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So today, I disagree with this, but certainly like at Villa or at Brentford, we most certainly could have made halftime changes more so than we did. I absolutely agree with that. Sorry, Clutch, you were going to say something?
And I think people keep forgetting, like, the 5 sub rule comes with a nice little caveat of it's 3 periods. You only get 3 periods of time. So we used 1 period in the first half. That leaves 2 periods left. Now, that's why I don't like making first half subs, as like we needed it, but we probably should have just started with the smarter option in the beginning. I mean, I feel like we should do that in the beginning. Sometimes it doesn't work. Understandable, but like as far as like you have those three periods of sub time. That's why we don't make subs a lot, because most managers want to wait until that 75th or 85th minute to use their subs for wasting time, because that's what they believe that their team can do it. And that's why I hate it. That's why I hate the way we make subs. That's why I hated Tuchel, the way Tuchel made subs. It's just, it never made sense to me. It's like, change the game. And I sat there for like 10 minutes today when I was watching the game, and I was like, we needed a sub 10 minutes ago. And Pulisic shows up at the 74th minute, 75th minute, whatever it was. And I'm like, he should have been on in the 60th minute for Sterling, at the very least. Like, maybe he should have been on at halftime, but we couldn't have done that. But you should have at least made 2 subs in that first period.
By the way, just to explain, halftime doesn't actually take away one of these sub opportunities. So, including halftime, you actually have 4. But, yeah.
Okay. I did not know that. So, that's fantastic. Then why didn't we do that?
Yeah, but then, you still don't want to use up 2 subs. Like, you just changed it 10 minutes before halftime. You need to first figure out how that change has an impact on the game. Like, if you just make another change, well, you don't even know if the first change worked yet properly. Do you know what I mean? Like, we stabilized the game already in the last 10 minutes of the first half, even though Anthony had United's biggest chance, except that goal then. But, we still need to see, okay, are we actually going to play a bit better now? You can't just throw another sub in, because we only have so many players to put on and take off, because once you take the lead and you took another midfielder off, well, then what? Do you know what I mean? But Kyle, don't worry, I haven't forgot about you. I will get to you now, because which one came first of these two? It was this one first. Just because the sub one today, I didn't really make all the sense in the world, just because we made a first half sub. But here we are. Richard also comes with, could Pulisic to Newcastle news be because have seen that they have came to a verbal agreement for January and Newcastle willing to offer $40 million. I mean, I haven't seen that. I'm not sure where you've seen that, Richard. I haven't seen it. I would say hopefully we don't do that, because we don't have enough forwards as it is. And also, I mean, Newcastle aren't that bad. So how about we don't help them out in January? Do you know what I mean? Especially with Pulisic being in decent form. I just want him to play more, but he should play more. So, but let me go with Kyle first on this one. Your reaction, would you be at all okay with letting Pulisic go at this point in January?
I mean, personally, not in January. We are a bit light, especially with Ziyech being out. I haven't really seen any big reports of this. I've seen the small ones, but nothing concrete about him going to Newcastle as of yet. I'm not sure if America's best player would like to go to Newcastle anyway. I know they will be coming up in the future, but right now, I don't really see the Newcastle as a club to be at, you know, in your career right now for Pulisic. I do think Chelsea is a better fit for him than Newcastle, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't really pay too much attention to this kind of news. To be honest, I don't really think it's much at the moment. I know there's news on Leao though, that might be coming not in January but next year. So nothing in January, but definitely in the summer we should be looking at something like this for sure.
First, Clutch, your reaction? I mean, I know you've been saying for a while that like we should probably let him go, but now in this current situation that we're in, unless we sign one or two wingers in January, which hopefully not, because we want to sign like Leao and other players in the summer, so let's not unnecessarily fill the squad with shit January signings. I feel like in January we shouldn't be letting Pulisic go anywhere, really.
No, not in January. Not in January, unless you somehow get Leao to come over at that point. But I think it's just what are your targets for January? Are you going to go get another player like? Are you going to make that push for Leao and who was the other one we wanted? The other Nkunku. Are you going to go for that in January? Is that what you're going to push for? Because if you sign one of them, Pulisic will push to leave because he's that's just how it is. So if you sign one of them, he will end up going in January. The report I saw was that they're willing to pay $45 million for him in January. That's what the report I seen. But also I seen yesterday or 2 days ago, and one of the times I happened to get on Twitter because I don't do it that much anymore, but I seen that Simon Phillips tweeted that Graham Potter loves Pulisic, and Pulisic wants to say that there's even a possibility of extending his contract now. So I tend to go for Simon Phillips right now.
Starting ever.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's a question.
They did also do an interview with Pulisic in the fifth stand-up, which made everyone think he would start. And I was like, don't be too sure about that, because that interview was probably like yesterday, 2 days ago, and Graham Potter definitely didn't tell the media team who's starting, so they could know who to do an interview with. Pretty sure of that, but people love to look into things. But I mean, someone talked about Trossard in the chat. The only thing we could be doing, because Ziyech is clearly not getting the look in under Potter anyway, is let Ziyech go in January and replace him with Trossard. And then in the summer, we can look at either Pulisic or, for like it, get Sterling Grid again. Nah, I'm joking, but you know what I mean? And then you look at adding Leao to that in the summer. And then you see, doesn't Nkunku potentially instead of Havertz rather than, we'll have to wait and see about that one. And the next super chat, just to finish these super chats off before we move on to Graham Potter. Again, by indefinite, appreciate as always. We have poor midfield who can't get through balls through. They can't dribble past players. Kevin De Bruyne, Odegaard, Højbjerg do that. Kante saved Jorginho in 2021 Champions League. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true at all. That Kante saved Jorginho. Both were fantastic. Both were phenomenal. And you saying that makes you, quite frankly, as much as I appreciate your donations, makes you look like a bit of a clown, because what is this? Like, why are you like? If you like, just watch the games back. Jorginho was amazing. Yes, Kante was also amazing. Yes, maybe Kante was even better than Jorginho, but that doesn't mean Jorginho wasn't great, right? And there's no like. You're supposedly a Chelsea fan. Why are you putting down Chelsea players constantly? Like, what does that get you? Does that give you satisfaction? Does it make you happy to put Chelsea? Like, I don't get that. Like, sometimes, I see you obviously in the chat all the time. You're not always harsh, but well, I'm like, okay, there's no need for this. In 2021, Jorginho was great. Now, if you have your opinion, he's shit, fair enough. but not in hindsight say it was shit then. Yeah, that's it.
I think it was Jorginho that finished third in the Ballon d'Or, not Kante, wasn't it? Wasn't that who finished third that
Let's
year?
not use that though. That was over. Kante was definitely better than Jorginho, and he did cover.
But only those 3 months that he was fit for, and Jorginho actually played the whole year. So
yeah.
that's
but
why
let's
Kante
be honest,
didn't go anywhere in the Ballon d'Or and he was really shit at the Euro.
I'm not allowed to speak
Jorginho-
about Kante right now because I really just want to sell him. So
Yeah,
I really shouldn't talk about him.
Kante is his own story. I mean, to be honest, indefinite. I don't really have anything else. So I agree with you that De Bruyne, Odegaard. I'm not sure about Højbjerg, but sure that they do that better. But Odegaard is number one, is at 10, not a midfielder.
Worked for Spurs midweek against United, didn't it?
Yeah, there you go. And De Bruyne is literally one of the best midfielders of all time. I mean, yeah, it would be lovely if we would still have him. Just unfortunate we did have him, but hey, we don't anymore. We don't anymore. Carl, do you agree? Given all the other subs, NAs, or did you think anyone played long enough to give them any ratings of the subs?
Other than Kovacic, yeah, not much really. Broja came on lively.
Yeah.
Pulisic
Won the penalty, to be fair to him.
Yeah. But other than Broja, it's not really, and Kovacic, it's not really much from Pulisic and Chukwuemeka. So yeah, we can't really talk about them too much really. It's NA for those two. But Kovacic and Broja, give Broja NA.
Do you want to give Broja a rating? Because Broja came on after Pulisic and Carney did, didn't he?
Oh yeah, but because he won the penalty, it made it a bit more outstanding in my head.
True.
But, yeah, just give him NA as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
Actually,
Broja and Chukwuemeka came on together, and Pulisic came on.
Okay.
But yeah, I reckon an NA for all of them. Like, he won the penalty, but obviously it was more just, McTimonay thinking he was going to go for, a little dancing session to do a little salsa. But unfortunately, the referee was having any. By the way, I like Mark Goldbridge, but why is he talking about that? That's not a penalty. I know it's because he's a United fan and they are used to not having these things given as penalties against them. But mate, how can you possibly say it's not a penalty? He literally rugby tackled him. What are you talking about?
I mean, we all seen Harry Maguire put Aspie in a sleeper hold about 2 years ago and not get called. So
exactly, that's probably why United fans think there shouldn't be a pen, but it should be. It just should have been then too. But yeah, let's get to Graham Potter now, because I feel like on today this warrants to take up a little bit of a conversation. Now, we started in a 3-4-3. We started with Cucurella at left centre back. Now we have to let him off a little bit because Koulibaly was not available because he has some sort of knee injury. But it is a bit unfortunate that Graham Potter literally said on last Sunday, less than a week ago, that Cucurella can play a left centre back, but it really didn't work in this occasion. And you thought a week later it would? Now, Cucurella himself wasn't the problem. But I don't like it when the Chelsea manager gets completely out-tacticked by another manager. And he changed it, and I do give him credit for changing it and not waiting too long, and we weren't even 1-0 down yet, even if that was partly down to Kepa and, getting a bit lucky with Anthony's miss, although that was after the formation change. But still, so he got away with it because he changed it, and it made it better, for sure. But I don't want someone like Ten Hag and Man United to find it so easy to find a weakness in our whatever we do, and then we are just so badly exploited and exposed and made to look silly, if I'm honest. I think the subs came too late. I think Pulisic not starting again is absolutely ridiculous. Now, if I'm being honest with you, I would have put all the money that I own on the fact that Sterling would start today. And unless we made a crazy formation change, that Pulisic would not start today. But most certainly that Sterling would start today. So it wasn't surprising, but it's still wrong. It's still wrong. I also don't understand how Broja, I know he obviously started Wednesday, so it's okay now, but until Wednesday didn't get a start when in every sub appearance he's so good. I'm like, how do you start Aubameyang? I mean, I know he scored a couple of goals, so at the time it was okay. But how did Havertz start ahead of Broja? How is that a thing? I mean, at least Carney Chukwuemeka is given a chance now, but yeah, it's not good. Obviously, it's also the case we play every 3 days, so how much training and putting his own philosophies into the team is Potter even really able to do? Do you know what I mean? So that is obviously something that we do need to let him off for, give him credit for, or give him the benefit of the doubt for, I suppose. But tactically, the start of the game was awful. Then he fixed it, but it still didn't really help us create. He waited way too long with the subs. Then the one sub did win us a penalty, so who knows what would have happened had they come on earlier. Mount on the wing once we play a 4-3-3. Why not just put Mount in midfield and bring Pulisic on for Ruben and put Mount in midfield and play a 4-3-3 that way, like Club said earlier? Surely, do you know what I mean? I don't understand. A 3. You know what? I probably agree with Aaron's 3 because while it was like obviously the first 36 minutes is a real huge L and a 0. It couldn't get a bigger 0. Like honestly, it's a poo emoji. But he fixed that. Do you know what I mean? Like, unlike Raheem Sterling, who just played shit until he came off, Potter fixed his mistake. Didn't fix it completely, but fixed it. So that's why I'm not going to give him like a 0 or something. But yeah, I think his 3 is about right. Carl, let me go with you first. What did you make of everything that played out today and from a Graham Potter perspective? Like, do you think did it lose you any confidence in us under Graham Potter? Because I can't lie, that first half, I'm like, sorry. We haven't. I can't even remember the last time Man United dominated Chelsea. Like I know they have a different manager now, but they have essentially the same players. How did we all of a sudden get into the position where we are dominated by them? Like dominated.
Yeah, we were pretty bad the first 36 minutes till the subs came on. So I do think the change was very Tuchel-like. I feel like I remember Tuchel coming on a few times at half time, changing it up, and we looked completely different the next game and looked much better. So I feel like this is something that Tuchel's done a lot. I just feel like with our squad, how it is and the amount of games we are playing, sometimes I do think I see a lot of hate for Graham Potter at the moment. I do think we have to give Graham Potter a little bit of time. We haven't lost yet. It's 8 games in a row we still haven't lost. We conceded how many goals? Not many. So I feel like Graham Potter's doing okay. And I feel like the subs he done were, very good. They're Tuchel-like, shall I say. It made us be a bit more control. We're better than United in the second half for sure. But with the players that we have, we got to think about, what we're going to do, because who's going to be great for our players? I don't see many creators in our squad.
No. And we had those problems on the Tuchel all the same, really.
Exactly. Aubameyang and Sterling are poachers, aren't they? They're not really creators. They're people that get on the end of courses or get on the end of things. So who's going to play these guys through? I don't really know what Potter has to do much. So what Potter can do really much in this squad. But I do think this subs was very good. I'm going to give him a 5. I'm not going to give him a 3. I think a 5 is probably a bit more realistic. I think if Tuchel was here, would we have lost this game? Would he have made a change? I feel like it would have been exactly the same. So I'm going to give him a 5 for sure.
That's an interesting question. I think if Tuchel is here, we dominate the game from the start and the game potentially still finishes 0-0 or 1-1. So I don't think the result is any different, but I think the game plays out very differently just because then we'd know what we do. Everyone would know what we do under Thomas Tuchel. No one dominates us. No one dominated us when we had Tuchel. That just didn't happen. The reason why I'm going as harshly with the 3, even though I agree with what you're saying, Carl, in terms of that he fixed it with his subs, like Pies touched on yesterday in the preview, we need to start game as well. And to start it so badly that you need a 36-minute subs. Like, he had time to prepare for this game. And he went with something so bad that he needed to make a 36-minute sub, which I know nowadays we have 5 subs, so that's less of a problem. But it's still not ideal to waste one of your subs in the 36th minute, especially having to bring someone on who's playing through a knee injury. So that's why I've gone quite harsh, just because I think the base of the team plays a bigger role in the overall rating than subs, because, subs is reacting to what you pick from the get-go, the system, the players, the team. That's being a good manager. After that, it's just like, okay, shit, we're getting overrun in midfield. Let me put another midfielder on. Like, okay, well, that's
question
good.
then.
Anyone should figure that out.
With Kovacic, though, and his knee injury, he hasn't really got many midfielders to start. Let's be honest. We have 2. So I don't really know. Like, we don't really have
It is true.
A lot of midfields to start from. We don't have any defenders to start from. We only got Chalobah and Thiago Silva.
We have Mason Mount. He could play midfield in a midfield 3. Absolutely could. We have Zakaria, who's not even been given a single minute of game time yet. Chukwuemeka was now. He's not a 6. I'm not sure how much of a defensive 8 he can be. I'm yet to see more from it. But at the same time, also, like Abaki says here, I hope Potter just learns from his mistakes and gets better. We also have to give him that benefit of the doubt. Number one, he came in the middle of the season. Not exactly an easy period. They don't exactly have, a lot of time to train with game every literally 3 days at all times. We have so many injuries. Obviously, Reece James, Kante, Koulibaly now, Fofana, all long-term injuries. It's not exactly easy, is it? But Clutch, on Graham Potter, I said 3, Carl's at 5. How would you explain it and what would you rate him?
I think Chat got it right there when he said we just hope they learn from the mistakes. That's what I want to see managers do. I for the longest time held on for Thomas Tuchel. I was like, okay, if you just learn from your mistakes, man, we'll be okay. You're a fantastic tactical manager. But unfortunately, Tuchel just sucks at man managing. That's it. That's just how it is. That's why he got sacked at the end of the day, is he just can't do that. Which is, when you have such a tactical prowess, I guess that's okay. Graham Potter is not as tactical prowess as Thomas Tuchel is. So you're going to have some man managing. And at this point, you're going to sit here and, like you said, it is important that subs change games. That is very important. But it's also as important, actually more important, that you just get it right from the start. That's it. That's why you're here. That's why you're the Chelsea manager. It's how often does Pep get it wrong from the start? Not very. Sometimes he did. He did it against us in the Champions League. He got it wrong from the start. So, and that's what cost him the Champions League. It's what cost him the one title that City won. So at the end of the day, you do have to start at the beginning and start from the beginning and do what you're supposed to. Now, my question is, Cucurella was playing left center back for Brighton, right? Mm-hmm. When they played the Black Three. What's the difference now? Why is he now not good at that anymore? Why can he not handle it? And he has a better center back pairing with him, Thiago Silva, by far. And by the way, anybody who says that Thiago Silva isn't like the number one center back in the Premier League, I don't know what you're talking about. That dude is 37 and still doing what he's doing. I'm sorry.
Lisandro Martinez. Now, I've not watched that much United so far this season. He's really good. Now, he might be a problem for set pieces because he's so short. But bro, is he good, man? Like, he defended us so well. Like, I didn't expect him to be this good. I was like, what? I thought it's just United fans picking him up for no reason, but turns out he's actually good.
Nope, he is what they wanted Harry Maguire to be. That Harry Maguire will never be. No. Unfortunately,
I'm not sure if they
about 5 feet shorter, but
shrink by like 2 feet to be the same height as Martinez. Not sure.
Yeah, it's just, I think for me, I'd give Potter a 3 today. Like you guys, that sounds like a fair rating for me. It's just he did fix things when it needed fixing, and that's a fresh thing because that's what we need. But at this point, we need to understand that there are things we need. And as far as like comments go, where they're talking about midfield, I've been screaming for the last 2 years we needed a midfield. I was the one saying we need Rice because we need somebody like that. But yet here we are when we keep spending money, 100 million on Lukaku. When I know we needed a goal scorer, but we didn't need Lukaku. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, Lukaku's so good," and it's like, no, Thomas Tuchel was never ever going to be a counter-attacking manager. If you're going to spend 100 million, just go do it on Declan Rice. At least he gives you something. You can change up your system if you need to. I just say it always never made sense to me when people were talking about midfielders, and then the one midfielder that Chelsea have always wanted. They're like, "Oh, well, we're not going to spend 100 million on him, but you're going to go spend 100 million on Lukaku." Fantastic. 75 million.
I'm not sure if 100 million would have gotten us Rice. West Ham might have just said no, but in general,
I heard it was going to be tough for Vice this year.
I think 2 years ago when we first wanted him, we could have gotten him for 100 million. When we got Lukaku for 100 million, we could have gotten Rice. I think that would have not had the great.
Yeah. We'll never know for sure, but maybe we could. And
then just keep Giroud at that point too.
In hindsight, obviously that makes sense, but at the time we just came off winning the Champions League with Kante being incredible all the time. Jorginho just won the Euros. In the end, turned out third in the Ballon d'Or. So
but I also think
we weren't exactly crying for midfield as such at the time. To change formation, absolutely. But, a striker we needed and need, regardless of formation. So, I understand it still, but obviously it really didn't work out, did it? Sorry?
That's why I would just kept Giroud.
That's a whole different question. Carl, you wanted to react to something Clutch just said. Sorry, I didn't really hear what you said.
Oh, I kind of forgot what was going on, to be honest.
It's all good. It's all good. Let me get to this last super chat by Indefinite, and then we're going to round this one out. He says, let's be real, Laurenz. Jorginho is not Chelsea level. Loftus-Cheek is not Chelsea level. Jorginho is a fraud and still is. I assume you meant was a fraud and still is. I call you out. Me? What have I done? Scrap the whole midfield. Scrap the whole midfield. On the one hand, I'm like, yeah, do that. And we'll see how it goes. Because I fear we'll scrap the midfield, and we'll have new players, and then new players will have different problems, and will still be some problems. You know, that is football. Do you know what I mean? Like, remember how excited everyone was? Oh, we got Cucurella finally. We don't have to deal with Alonso anymore, and we finally have this great player instead of Chilwell. In the end, Chilwell is still not fully recovered, but because Cucurella is struggling so much in all positions at the moment, it's still Chile playing more game time at left wing back than it is Cucurella. So, like, you know, now, did we overpay? Sure, but still, everyone was in agreement that he was a good player. Not every, like, good players don't always have the fix that you think they will. Same as Lukaku. We all, like, and most of us thought he would fix problems that we had.
Sterling
just
didn't
caused
fix
us
our
more and more
problems.
problems. Same as Raheem Sterling. Now, obviously with Sterling, we don't, like, this is not the end of it yet, as it isn't with Cucurella. So they will hopefully, fingers crossed, get better and improve. But yeah, get a new midfield, but see how that goes, because then you need another 1 or 2. Then you, for the first season, we said, oh yeah, it's transition season because our midfielders aren't used to each other, and you know, you'll have all these excuses because then we'll have those problems, and yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult.
You got to admit though, the balance is a bit off though in our midfield. Though it's a bit.
No,
off.
it is 100%. Of course, it is. I think we all know that it is, but. Okay, then you say you have Declan Rice in there. Okay, then you have Declan Rice. But that still doesn't solve the problem that we also need to replace Kante. Who replaces Kante? Because Kante is constantly injured, but Rice doesn't replace Kante. And Jorginho can't play the higher position in the midfield. So even if you get Rice, you still need someone different. Okay, then you need another one, but you need another good one. Meaning that is auto 200 million at least on midfield.
Well, think about this though. Like, we don't have anyone in that defensive midfielder position at all.
No, and that's the serious.
So with Kante's position, I feel like players can. I feel like Kovacic can play that role. Not as nowhere near nothing like Kante, but he can play that role. But I feel like in that position, the defensive position at all, we don't have anyone. I feel like it's been out for years, and that's what I mean by the balance. Like, if we had someone, say we're losing the game, right? If you want to have someone to push up, if you have someone like, hey, I'm just going to use Rice. I know people don't like Rice. If we had Rice there, we can push more players forward. We can put a Conor Gallagher example, not in a double pivot, but push him forward. I'll be more comfortable with Mount being a bit more in there. But now that we have Jorginho, we have to use a double pivot or have people next to him, which makes sense. Which Jorginho is a good player, but you've got to, balance out.
The only thing I'm not sure about with that, Kyle, is how do we know that for sure with Rice? Because England play it pragmatic football under Gareth Southgate. So we've never seen, if you have Rice in midfield, everyone else can push forward. We've never seen that. Then he plays for West Ham, who are still against, any time they play against someone good, they still play very defensive. So we also haven't seen, okay, does he just allow players to move forward because he's that good? So while I think that could be true, we don't actually know that for sure. And I fear that you have Rice, and then all of a sudden, we still get hit on the break. Now, he will still be better at it than Jorginho. Of course he will, because he's quicker and he's stronger, obviously. But also before we had Jorginho, also when we had Matic, sometimes we got hit on the counter. It happens. They don't fix every problem. So that's why I'm like, I believe that Rice can do those things. But number one, I think it's harsh to expect it from him from just come in and fix it, because he's played at West Ham. It's not the same as Chelsea. He's not played a Champions League game in his life, man. I know he played the Euros final, so, it's big enough. But, I feel like I think this can happen. Yeah. I think we need to be a bit careful with being so set on it, because I feel like, okay, then watch us sign him, and then it doesn't work, and then we all look like idiots. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. I just want to make it sure. Like, I'm not saying Declan Rice or a player like Declan Rice will solve all our problems.
Yeah.
But since we don't have that option at all, like every top 6 squad has a number 6, like that. We don't have that option at all. So that just makes us our limit. It makes us limited as a squad overall. Anyway, I'm not even saying Declan Rice is the main. I just use him as an example because I feel like his main attributes. I can use anyone, like Alves, for example, at Ajax. I don't know, whoever you want to put in there. That's a defensive-minded player that allows 8s to push a bit more forward, can help solve the situation a lot. So yeah, it's not. That's one point of many. We got Aspilicueta there, and here's another problem. We need to sort that out. But I'm just saying that one position, since we don't have anyone there, it makes a big problem in my eyes.
I think when you look at like what United did with Casemiro, who was an absolute steal for them, that's 30 million is what they bought him for?
No, 60 million, bro.
60.
Was it 60? That's still a steal for Casemiro.
It's still a good signing, but he was expensive.
Like that's what I think of when I think what Chelsea need to do. They need to do something like that. Is the Casemiro treatment. We need somebody like that.
Right on that.
And I think people underestimate how good Declan Rice is at passing. He's actually a very good passer.
Stats were good.
Actually, it's not like he. What was it? He had some of the most. I think he had one of the highest progressive passer rates in the Premier League last year as a midfielder. I think, if I remember correctly. I know a lot.
Which is partly because he doesn't play as a real proper DM for West Ham because he gets forward, but which he wouldn't for us. So he probably.
I think he does both very well there.
Yeah, he does both.
Obviously,
Al Souček and Declan Rice. Declan Rice goes back. Souček goes forward. So Declan Rice is the defensive one.
And I think if you gave him like a Kovacic and you did that kind of thing, we'd be okay. Like I just people turn their head at Declan Rice.
With his poor knee, man. Yeah.
I think people turn their head at Declan Rice, and I'm like, so who do you want? And then you're like, oh well, let's go get Frankie De Jong. Frankie De Jong is one of my favorite players on this planet. I love Frankie De Jong. But he's just not a DM.
Yeah.
Like he wants to be in a double pivot, and he wants to get the ball from the center backs, and then he wants to push the ball forward. But you still need that person who is defensive minded. He's not that. He is a progressive player. He is a lot like a faster version of Jorginho almost. Just he doesn't control the ball like that, like Jorginho does with like sideways passing. It's more like I'm going to get the ball and then dribble forward. That's kind of how he is. So it's like, so
to me, De Jong has a lot of Iniesta in him. I'm not sure if everyone else sees this, but to me, he has a lot of Iniesta in him.
Yes, I'm just like, so for me, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I've been saying this, and I've been on your channel for almost 2 years now, I think. I've been coming on here for about 2 years. And I think from the very first time I came on here, I've been screaming. Everybody's like, yeah, we need all these attackers. No, we need a defensive midfielder. We needed it for 4 years when Frank Lampard said it. I think Frank Lampard knows the type of team setup he wants. Is he a great tactical manager? No, but not by any means. But I think he knows how to set up a team. I think he knows and he understands that. And that's kind of why he started pushing us forward. Chilwell's been fantastic for us. That was a Frank Lampard signing. He knows what we need. And people just, like, and then people talk about like a creator like Fabregas. Yes, we do need that as well. We do need that as well in the midfield. But
Fabregas only works if there's defensive solidity in midfield as well. Otherwise, Fabregas looks like Fabregas did in Jose's season, where Jose got sacked because we were 16th, when Fabregas looked awful because we had no stability. Yeah,
that'll be our De Jong, for example. Like, you can have these sorts of luxury players, but you need to sort out our spine first. That's what I always feel like. So under Graham Potter, I feel like very harsh to judge him. And this is why I was upset at Tuchel. Like, Tuchel I loved. I thought, since we have all this space, he's got his control now. Apparently, Bodie wants to talk to him. I thought, like, if he has someone that can, defensive minded, it'll be able to help him out a lot. But the players he wanted was defenders all the time, and that's what was his main downfall, in my opinion. So, I don't know.
And you remember why I said what I said about the back three? Because when you have a back three, you're expecting those three attackers to take on average, those back four. You're asking three attackers. That's on average, one of them's going to get doubled up, and they're going to have to dribble by it. Now, last year, we didn't have Raheem Sterling, who could get by it and dribble. All you had was Christian Pulisic, who was really bad at dribbling last year, by all accounts. Really not good with it. So why did we keep doing that? If we put another midfielder who can stabilize that midfield, you can push Mount back into the midfield, Kovacic, Mount, both eights, pushing forward. Then you could have three attackers in front of them, and that evens out, and that actually overweighs the defense. So I don't understand why we never think about that.
While I agree with you, one thing I will say is, now, let's imagine, right, we have this front three. If you don't have attacking fullbacks, nothing changes, because now you attack with five, right? If you play in a 3-4-3, you also attack with five, because you attack with both wing backs, and then obviously just one of these obviously becomes centre back, right? So you still attack with five, regardless of what. So that's why it's so important when you do play a back four that you have attacking fullbacks, because otherwise nothing changes. And that's why I was so annoyed today. Okay, we switched to a 4-3-3, sorry, but our fullbacks didn't attack. So it didn't change anything. It didn't mean anything. So that's why I don't know. I've gone all over the shop here with my formation, but you know what I'm trying to do.
I think in the second half when Broja came on, I think it was like a midfield diamond. Because I think Mount was just behind. It was like
it was.
Kovacic was on the left. Chukwuemeka was like in the middle. Mount was on the right. Jorginho was in the back, and then it was the two fronts. Broja and Pulisic. Pulisic was on the right. It was
almost like a 4-2-2 at the end, kind of.
Yeah, it was like a diamond midfield, because Mount was playing on that right behind, and that's why when I said earlier you can press from the midfield. We had one moment where Mount.
You think?
Yeah, because Pulisic was and Chukwuemeka was a little bit further, and he was playing kind of in the middle. Pulisic was on the right-hand side, and Broja was on the left-hand side. And Mount played like just behind Pulisic, behind him.
Okay,
And
4-4-2 diamond. Yeah. Okay,
there was
yeah.
a moment when Mount pressed from the midfield, which allowed Pulisic to get the ball from that midfield position to press it, and then they pushed up. And I think that's the one where we actually got the corner out of it. I think that's the play when that happened.
Well,
You can still pressure it.
That's only good because we got a corner from that penalty from that corner. Otherwise, a corner is like, okay, you got a corner.
Because we need to understand that our corner takers are being trash for whatever reason. I don't know why we keep putting the same players who are not doing well on corners to take it. I don't know who else would take it, to be honest. So I'm not really
because we had
complaining about it.
But when it was Ziyech, so bloody hell, they're all bad. I don't know why, man. I don't know why. Boys, I think it's about time we round this one out because, yeah, it's United. It was bad in performance-wise. It was okay in result. On Tuesday, I will be in Salzburg. Hopefully, pray to bloody Lord that goes a bit better. Because see, if I'm there, because obviously you're busy and everything, like singing, chanting, and drinking and whatever else you're doing, then the performance is a lot less important. Just get the fucking result. Because if we win, we are guaranteed to go through. If we win and the other game goes in the right way for us, we even guaranteed to win the group. So, Tuesday's huge. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give a big shout out to Kyle. First time on the channel, I thought he did an absolutely wonderful job. Please do check out his channel, Chelsea Plus, as you can see on screen as well. Link is down in the description. Please do subscribe to his channel. I'm sure we'll see him in the future again for player ratings, previews, and all sorts of things. But yeah, shout out Kyle. Appreciate you for coming on. Clutch, I didn't expect you to come on. Go on. Sorry.
I've seen your channel for a while. Like you've been doing it good. Like years ago, I was in college, and you're doing these types of videos. So big up to you. I think what are you on now? 15K.
15 and a half, okay, yeah. It's slowed down. I can't lie. Lizzie kind of killed my vibe because by the time I was flying, and then Lizzie turned. I was like, I've had enough. Ruin everything, but we grind. But yeah, bro, I appreciate you very much. Clutch, I appreciate you very much as well. Again, didn't expect you to come on. So, but please, people, if you want to follow Clutch on Twitter, even if he's not as active at the moment, do follow him. It's Clutch CFC on Twitter. Shout out to Aaron as well, of course. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round this one out. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you all. If you haven't, I feel like now I've just thought about it. I haven't told you ever to subscribe today. So please do subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. So please get subscribed. Big red subscribe button. Hit the notification bell button as well so you don't miss any future streams. Smash the like button on your way out. Doesn't cost you any money or any time. So please do that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you.